And now with the play-by-play, here's Vin Scully. Vinny?
Thank you, Jerry. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you. As usual, it's perfect inside the dome in the great indoors here at Texas. Mariano Duncan, followed by Ken Landreaux, and then Bill Madlock against one of the premier pitchers in the game, Nolan Ryan. Ryan looks into Alan Ashby in an ideal pairing tonight. A great way for the closing act. Nolan Ryan and Fernando, and the pitch to Duncan is low, ball 1-0. The Dodgers. And, of course, immediately when you're playing the last game of the regular season on the road, your first thought is, where did it all go? How fast it went by. Pitch is popped in the air, foul off third. Coming over is Garner, but that's back in the seats out of play, and the count 1-1. But I'll tell you something that really lets you know where did it all go. The Dodgers have won 7 games here in the Dome. The last time they won 7 games in the Dome was the first year the Dome opened up. And that just happened to be 1962. You talk about where it all went. The Dodgers were 7-9, 7 out of 9 that first year here. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Mariano Duncan. A roller to the right side. Bill Doran is there. Over to Glenn Davis. And we have one away. One down, and Ken Landreaux, the batter. Kenny hitting .271. He has 12 home runs. 48 runs batted in. In looking at the Dodgers and Nolan Ryan, lifetime, Guerrero and Madlock have done well against him. And you have Madlock on deck, followed by Guerrero. So Landreaux waiting, Ryan into the windup and delivers, and it's on the corner for a strike, 0-1. The Dodgers finishing up on the road. They've already won 47 games. The 1977 club went on to go into the World Series. Won 47 games on the road. The pitch swung on and foul tipped, and the count 0-2. In fact, you have to go back to 1974 to find a more successful road trip. That championship team that lost Oakland the World Series won 50. Here's the strike 2 pitch coming up to Ken Landreaux, and the outfielder fouls it back to the screen, still 0-2. The magic number is down to 7. And meanwhile, talking about down, it is 2-1 Atlanta, bottom of the 5th inning, and the Reds are at bat. Ryan checking. Ashby sets a target for him, and the strike 2 pitch is waved at and missed. Landreaux badly fooled, went after a bad ball, and strikes out. So 2 out in the first inning, and Bill Madlock coming up. Madlock hitting .400 lifetime against Nolan Ryan. So 2 of the big stars in the National League go head-to-head. Ryan checking, Madlock waiting, and Ryan's first pitch is a breaking ball strike, slider inside part of the plate. Madlock quit on it. He backed off, and the pitch in there anyway. Madlock with a 17-game hitting streak. Now the strike 1 pitch on the way, and that's way inside. Almost got him on the hands. In fact, it did. It hit him on the left hand, and Madlock dropped the bat and slowly goes to first. So Bill Madlock hit on the left hand by a Nolan Ryan fastball, and Madlock walking to first. No apparent concern from the Dodger bench. Manny Mota comes over to make sure he's okay. Madlock, of course, has tied his career high at 17. Trying to get a base hit tonight. That would be the all-time string in his career, and Ryan Sandberg has the longest hitting streak in the league at 18. Now here's Guerrero hitting .294 lifetime against Nolan Ryan. Guerrero has hit 2 home runs in his career against Ryan, and he comes up now with Madlock, a 2-out hit batter standing at first. Ryan bends over, now straightens up. Nolan a backward glance at Madlock, and now the pitch to Guerrero, and that's that breaking ball, and it's in there for a strike, and Guerrero quit on it. He backed off. So we've seen a couple of those already. One to Madlock, and now this one to Pete. 0-1 the count. Guerrero hitting .324. The Dodgers have won 12 of the 17 with Houston this year, as Guerrero fouls another one away, and the count 0-2. If you just take out the 2 brief games, the interruption of the long Dodger road trip, they played 17 out of 19 on the road. And if you forget those 2, the Dodgers have done very well. They've won 11 and lost 5, and this being the 17th of that long string, the Dodgers then will go home and finish up with a 10-game homestand. 3 with the Giants over the weekend, 2 with San Diego, 2 with Atlanta, and they finish up the following weekend with the Cincinnati Reds. We have an opportunity to say hello to the men and women of our armed forces, thanks to Armed Forces Radio Service Network carrying the ball game tonight. Nolan Ryan ready, a look over at Bill Madlock. And Noli comes to Guerrero, who fouls it away. Off to the right, out of play, and it's still 0-2. Oral Hershiser will try and win his 18th Friday night. Jerry Royce will go Saturday, and Bob Welsh on Sunday. Welsh pitched one of the better games of his career last night, with the emphasis on the word pitch. And he's 12-4 and gave the Dodgers in the bullpen a big lift. 0-2, the count to Pete Guerrero. Nolan Ryan, another look over at Madlock. Now the pitch to Guerrero, low in the dirt. If you remember the other night when Alan Ashby was the catcher, the Dodgers tried to put a little heat on him. Ashby had been sidelined, and Duncan stole third, Madlock stole second, Marshall was thrown out, and all that took place in the first inning. But Madlock does not want to risk it with Guerrero at the plate. The 1-2 pitch fouled away again. So Guerrero's still there, 1-2. Nolan Ryan, 9-12. He's had a lot of shoulder problems. In fact, he had to come out of 2 games in a row with stiffness of his arm. But of course, at his age, still being a power pitcher, it is understandable that he would have muscle problems. In fact, he is phenomenal when you realize his age, that he is still the power pitcher that he is. 1-2, the count to Pedro Guerrero. Ryan will look at Madlock. The pitch to Guerrero, high and inside, ball 2. Bruce Fleming is the plate umpire with Bob Davidson at first, John Kibler at second, and Dick Stello on the line at third. Manny Mota coaching at first, Joe Malfitano over at third. 2-2. Ryan ready, Nolan delivers, and it's down at Guerrero's feet. Ball 3, 3-2. So with a full count of Guerrero and 2 down, Madlock ready to go, and Glenn Davis makes the sign he will not be holding him on. So Madlock, hit by the pitch for the 7th time this year, takes his lead at first. It's an unenviable area in which to lead. Of course, Don Baylor of the Yankees is the guy who's made a living at that. And there's a shot up the middle, base hit. Madlock jogging to second and holding. Even though he was going 3-2, he had no thought of trying to go to third. He had slowed down before he got to the bag. So with 2 out, the Dodgers have first and second as Guerrero singles up the middle, and Pete has come back with a vengeance. Guerrero with a base hit scored a run last night. His base hit knocked in a run, and in the first game he had 2 singles and a double plus a walk. So nothing wrong with Guerrero, although he does say the wrist is not fine. It is not 100%, but it's better. It is heavily taped and wrapped, and so he is playing. Here's Marshall, and he checks up, and they'll look at first. No swing, says Davidson, and the count 1 ball and no strikes. Mike, who had that awkward string of 6 consecutive strikeouts, and he came out of that last night with 3 singles and a double, and he reached all 5 times. He was also aboard on an error. So Marshall hitting .288. 2 on, 2 out. First inning, no score. Nolan Ryan delivers very high. Marshall ducks underneath it. 2 balls and no strikes. Madlock standing at second, Guerrero at first, and Marshall waiting at the plate. Ryan reading Ashby, Davis, Doran, Thon, and Garner on the infield back of him. The 2-0 pitch swung on and fouled away. Jim Pankovits is in left field, Kevin Bass in center, Jerry Mumphrey in right. Jose Cruz, who suffered a pulled hamstring in the first game, unable to play last night, and he has to sit this one out as well. 2-1 to Mike Marshall with Mike Scioscia on deck. Dodgers trying to win and make this the most successful road show since 1974. The 2-1 pitch to Marshall is swung on and missed. Strike 2. 2-2 the count. Dodgers have really outmuscled the Astros head-to-head. In the 17 games, the Dodgers have hit 14 home runs against Houston pitching, and the Astros have answered back meekly with only 3. But they do have a kid who apparently has some home run credentials and will be playing every day, the first baseman Glenn Davis, who homered last night. 2-2 to Marshall. Nolan Ryan ready. Fastball, a broken bat, and a slicing fly ball that's going to bounce and goes over the head of Jerry Mumphrey. So Madlock scores, Guerrero scores, and a broken bat triple by Mike Marshall. And when you're going good, that's what happens. The crowd booing the fates because you could hear the bat crack, and it was just a little slicing fly ball. And then to complicate matters, when it hit the rug, it kangarooed over Mumphrey's head. So with 2 out, a hit batter, Guerrero single, and a triple to right for Marshall, and the Dodgers are out in front. 2-0 Los Angeles. Now Mike Scioscia trying to pick him up. Garner, even with the bag at third, everybody else is back to a normal depth. And Ryan on the rubber looks in to get a sign. So Mike Marshall picks up 2. That gives him 85 runs batted in. And Scioscia takes low ball 1, 1-0. So Mike Scioscia waiting, and the 1-0 pitch from Nolan Ryan is in the dirt, and it's pushed behind the plate. They can't find it, and Marshall scores. So Nolan Ryan got it in the dirt. Ashby blocked it, but Alan had no idea where it was. And by the time he found it and tried to flip to Ryan, Marshall was in with the 3rd run of the inning. So the Dodgers post a big 3, and that will sure look big in Cincinnati when they put it up on the scoreboard at Riverfront. It's a wild pitch charged to Nolan Ryan. So a 2-out hit batter, a single to center, a cracked bat triple to right, and now a wild pitch. And the Dodgers lead 3-0. Ryan into the windup, and the 2-0 pitch in there, 2-1. Of course, for Fernando, not that he would ever take anything for granted anyway, but very fresh in his memory was that 6-1 lead that got away in Cincinnati. The pitch to Scioscia is low, ball 3, 3-1. So the Dodgers with a chance now to win the most games ever in the Dome, and the most games on the road in a season since 1977. And actually they could break that. It'd be the most since 1974, and they're certainly off on the right foot with 3 in the first inning. 3-2, the count of Mike Scioscia. Ryan checking, Ashby setting a target, and the 3-2 pitch. Scioscia hits it on the hands, pops it up. A trio of Astros, and it will be the left fielder Pankovits making the catch. But the Dodgers get 3, and at the end of half an inning, Dodgers 3, Astros coming up.
Well, let's take a look at that schedule again. Vince Scully was talking about it. We'll go into it in a little more detail here. Now, Los Angeles has played 151 games. They have 11 left, counting tonight's game, and this is their last road game. So after this one, a tremendous home team advantage. They'll be playing 10 games at home against various teams, and of course, there is always that home stadium advantage. Now, they are, as of course, tonight at Houston, and then they go back home on September 27th and the 28th and 29th. They'll be hosting the Giants. Then the Padres come in for 2 games on September 30th and October 1st. Then Atlanta will be in on October 2nd and 3rd for 2 games, and then the final 3 games, the Dodgers will be hosting Cincinnati on October 4th, 5th, and 6th. So they have certainly a great advantage in holding on to that lead that they do have. Let's get back now.
The Dodgers return home this coming Friday night for the final homestand of the regular season. It opens with a 3-game weekend series with the San Francisco Giants. This coming Saturday is Jacket Day, with all children 14 years and under at the 105 game receiving a free vinyl Dodger jacket. Sunday's game is sold out, but tickets for Friday's and Saturday's games, including $3 general admission tickets on a guaranteed seat basis for Saturday's game, are available at all Dodger ticket outlets. We're going to the bottom of the first inning, and the Dodgers with 3. Fernando will be backed up by Mike Scioscia behind the plate. Then Greg Brock and Steve Sax, Mariano Duncan and Bill Madlock Pedro Guerrero, Ken Landreaux, and Mike Marshall in the outfield. Bill Doran, Jim Pankovits, and Kevin Bass. Doran hitting .293, 13 home runs, 56 runs batted in. He's had an all-star year. Doran waiting, and Fernando ready and delivers in the fastball to strike, 0-1. Fernando has been pitching with a sore ankle. He hurt it chasing fungos in the outfield, and it was bothering him. It was one of the reasons, although nobody said much about it, why he let that game get away in Cincinnati. Doran hits a fly ball to Marshall, and we have one out. He originally twisted the ankle running in Atlanta, and of course the Atlanta outfield long has been treacherous. The Dodgers then taped the ankle, then he found that was uncomfortable, and they took the tape off, and the 6-1 lead went down the drain. The Dodgers feel, however, the ankle is okay now because he's been running well. So we'll see as Jim Pankovits steps in, hitting .254, and he has a look at a pitch outside, ball 1. Fernando 2-1 with the Astros and an earned run average of 1. This year he lost 2-1 here. Didn't allow an earned run, but he lost it nevertheless. Then he shut the Astros out in June, winning here 9-0. And then he won 6-3, allowing 3 earned runs. The 2-0 pitch is outside, ball 3. So Fernando's lifetime is 10-4, and his earned run average is not even 2.5. So he's pitched very well against Houston. And he's leading 3-0 in the first inning as he sends a fastball for a strike, and the count 3-1 to Pankovits. Naturally, the Astros, minus their most valuable player, Jose Cruz. Cruz's lifetime is hitting almost .300 against Fernando, but he can't play. Here's the 3-1 pitch coming up. Valenzuela deals another strike. Phil Garner has hit Fernando reasonably well, and he and Cruz made a pretty good 1-2 punch against Fernando. But Cruz having to sit it out. 3-2 pitch to Pankovits is taken low, ball 4. So Fernando, who has posted a high of 14 strikeouts this year, and it was against Houston back in June, proceeds to walk Pankovits with 1 out, and here's Kevin Bass. Bass, the switch-hitting center fielder, hitting .266, but he has big numbers as a right-handed batter. And, of course, that's the way he's hitting against Fernando. Bass hitting .310 from this side of the plate. Bass's power is from this side as well. He swings, doesn't get it. He has 13 home runs and 9 of them as a right-handed batter. So he'll check with Dennis Menke coaching at third, Matt Galland coaching over at first, and Bob Lillis piloting the ball club in the dugout. Now the strike 1 pitch on the way. Fernando set and deals, and there's a drive to center and deep. However, Landreaux going to the track will make the catch for the out. It's 400 to straightaway center, and Bass hit it hard and deep, but not far enough. 2 down, and Glenn Davis coming up. Glenn Davis, the home run hitter for the Astros. He has 18. He hit one last night. Youngster with 61 runs batted in and would appear to be a fixture for years to come here in Houston. They have been waiting for him to develop, and apparently the time is now. Davis from Jacksonville, Florida, lives in Georgia, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. He's been playing professionally since 1981. Fernando set a check of first and the strike 1 pitch. Davis looks, and that one's low. 1 ball and 1 strike. 3-0 Dodgers in the first inning. With 2 out, a hit batter, a single by Guerrero, and a bloop triple by Mike Marshall, who then came home on a wild pitch. So the Dodgers leading 3-0 in the first inning. The Dodgers have won 15 out of 25 in the month of September. The Astros have won 17 out of 24 in September. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Davis takes inside, ball 2. But, of course, the Astros had that one brilliant stretch where they won 9 straight, 19 out of 21, but they have come back to earth. They're still in the bottom of the 5th inning, according to the scoreboard. Atlanta leading Cincinnati 2-1. Seems like they've been out a long time. Here's a 2-1 pitch. Instead, it's a throw to first. Well, they're just late. They're now in the bottom of the 6th inning. Atlanta 2, Cincinnati 1, Mailer and Tibbs. The Mets lost. Cubs beat them 5-4 despite a grand slam by Gary Carter. The 2-1 pitch, Davis hits it foul out of play. The Cardinals will have Danny Cox, and Charlie Hudson will go for Philadelphia. Jay Johnstone going after that foul ball. Philadelphia got 2 in the first inning against the Cardinals. Of course, for the Mets, at 3 back and losing today, they have 3 games left next week in St. Louis. They're running out of time. The 2-2 pitch fouled away by Glenn Davis. So it's still 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. On the scoreboard, Pittsburgh leading Montreal 5-0 bottom of the 5th. Phillies with the 2 in the first inning in St. Louis. San Francisco and San Diego tonight. Now the 2-2 pitch to Glenn Davis. Fernando delivers, and he hits a little slicing fly ball down the right field line, just foul by inches, and thereby hangs the tail. Marshall cracks his bat and hits it inside the right field foul line and winds up with a triple and 2 RBIs, and the Dodgers wind up with a 3-run first. Davis now hits a chip shot down the right field line, and it curls foul. Let's pause quickly. This is the Los Angeles Dodgers Radio Network.
And there's no mistaking that voice, the voice of Vin Scully. If you're joining us late, it's the Dodgers and the Astros coming to you from the Astrodome, and you're listening to it on the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Fernando working on Davis. Jim Pankovits at first with 2 out, and the 2-2 pitch, screwball fouled away, and Davis just did get a piece of it. On the American League scoreboard, Cleveland beat Oakland 7-2. Boston, Toronto scoreless in the 5th. The Yankees leading Detroit 3-1 in the bottom of the 3rd. Milwaukee leading Baltimore 1-0 in the top of the 2nd. Here's the 2-2 pitch, another throw to first. Minnesota 0, Texas 0 in the 2nd. Chicago, California tonight. And what about Kansas City and Seattle? They're going to play tonight. All Seattle has done is beat them 10 straight. Saberhagen and Young. There's a shot back to Fernando, who turns and throws to first, and that's that. So Davis ripped it, but Fernando, an excellent fielding pitcher, makes the play. They leave Pankovits, and at the end of an inning, 3-0 Dodgers.
Sounds as though Vin keeps banging his microphone against something. I don't know what's going on there. Well, as he noted, the Mets have lost today to the Cubs 5-4, and now the Mets have to hope that Philadelphia can hold on to its lead against the Cardinals, because Philly has scored 2 runs in the top of the 1st. They're at St. Louis, and so far leading the Cards 2-0. So all the Mets can hope for is to at least keep even at this point, and maybe come out a little ahead later on when they face St. Louis. St. Louis did nicely yesterday, though. Terry Pendleton collected his 3rd game-winning hit in his last 5 games, got a 2-run single on Tuesday night, and that helped the Cards beat the Pittsburgh Pirates, but barely, 5-4. Rick Horton is 3-2 now on the season. He pitched 5 innings to get that victory. Ken Daly got the final 2 outs. He earned his 11th save. Lee Tunnell, who pitched just 3 2/3 innings, had to take the loss. He falls to 5-10 now. Now, St. Louis had jumped out to a 2-0 lead in that one in the first inning. Willie McGee singled, and Tom Hurd doubled him to 3rd with 1 out. Andy Van Slyke drew an intentional walk, and Pendleton delivered a 2-run single. The Cards added 2 unearned runs in the 4th. They took a 4-1 lead. Hurd led off with a single, stole second, then 2 outs later, Pendleton walked. Mike Jorgensen hit a high fly to center field, but R.J. Reynolds let it bounce off his glove. And that allowed Hurd and Pendleton to score. Pittsburgh scored a run in the 3rd inning on a double by Reynolds and a run-scoring single by Mike Brown. But the Cards edged it out 5-4 over the Pirates. Let's see what's happening at the Astrodome.
Second inning here in the Astrodome. The Dodgers leading the Astros 3-0. Greg Brock with his 21 home runs, 64 RBIs, hitting .249 will start it off, followed by Steve Sax and then Fernando Valenzuela. And Nolan Ryan into the windup and delivers, and the pitch low and inside, ball 1. Noli was 38 in January. Phenom into the windup, delivers, high, ball 2, 2-0. He has really passed Steve Carlton. It's not even subject of discussion right now as far as strikeouts. Carlton has had so much trouble and is finished for the year, and Ryan just keeps rolling along. Here's a 2-0 pitch, and Greg Brock takes high. We told you Atlanta leading Cincinnati 2-1. In the other important game, Philadelphia with 2 in the first inning, and in the bottom of the 1st, Tommy Herr has just hit a home run with 2 on, and the Cardinals are leading Philadelphia 3-2. Interestingly enough, they got to the drama immediately. Herr hit one of the big ones of his life in the 9th inning the other night. He does it in the 1st inning. And the pitch is high, ball 3. 3-1, now ball 4 to Greg Brock. So Herr, with well over 100 RBIs, now has 7 home runs. And the Cardinals leading Philadelphia. And, of course, if they win that ball game, the Mets are almost buried. The Mets would be 4 back. Herr has 105 RBIs, the number 2 RBI man in the league. Here now is Steve Sax. Ryan, both hands on his knees. Now Noli straightens up. And the first pitch to Sax, high and inside, ball 1, 1-0. He is not throwing particularly hard. At least sitting up here, he didn't look like he is throwing the ball by anybody. 1 ball and no strikes to count. Ryan looks over to see what Brock is up to, comes back to Sax. He hits a shot back off Ryan's leg. He doesn't know where it is. Ashby can't make a play, and everybody's safe. So Nolan Ryan gives up a walk and a single. His leg got in the way. Otherwise, it's into center field. And Jerry Walker going out along with the Astro trainer, and Fernando will be coming up in a minute. But Ryan does not look particularly sharp. Let's see what he's done. His last time out, he went 6 innings against Cincinnati and lost. Time before that, he went 6 innings, no decision. Pitched well in that game, 2-1. Time before that, he had to come out with shoulder stiffness 2/3 of an inning. Time before that, he came out in the 7th inning with shoulder stiffness. And he's in some trouble. Down 3-0, and the Dodgers have runners at first and second, nobody out. And here is Fernando. The Astros figure that Fernando will bunt. We'll see. Both Davis and Garner come up. He's around to bunt and bunts it foul off to the left of the plate. 0-1 to count. Garner coming to the plate on that pitch, and it was up to Dickie Thon to cover third. Though we'll watch and see if they keep that same play. 0-1 to count to Fernando. Valenzuela this year, as far as sacrifices are concerned, has 4. That's not very many. The strike 1 pitch, and here comes Garner. The bunt is hit to Davis, and his only play is to Doran covering. So with Garner coming right down Fernando's throat, he wanted the other way and got his men over. A good bunt, particularly against somebody like Ryan, and it'll bring up Mariano Duncan. Mariano grounded out to Bill Doran in the 1st inning. The Astros down 3-0, so they're going to shorten up immediately. The infield is in with 1 out and runners at 2nd and 3rd. And Duncan 0 for 1. Mariano got a strong taste of the heady wine of the big leagues in his very first Major League at-bat. It was against Nolan Ryan, who struck him out. Of course, he has come a long way from that first at-bat. And we'll see what happens this time. Hitting overall 241, and the pitch to him a half swing, and the pitch was in the dirt for a strike, 0-1. Of course, the big difference continues, a difference of almost 70 points. Right-handed. He's got all kinds of credentials, but he is struggling, learning to bat left-handed in the big leagues. On-the-job training in the bigs against Nolan Ryan, that's pretty tough. Brock down the line from 3rd, Sax from 2nd. The pitch to Duncan is high. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers leading 3-0, and we're in the 2nd inning. They're trying to break it wide open here at the outset. On deck, Ken Landreaux. This am a going-home game. The Dodgers head home for the final homestand of the year. 1-1 pitch to Duncan is low. Ball 2, 2-1. Dodgers off tomorrow. And then over the weekend with the Giants, then 2 with last year's champion San Diego Padres, 2 with the Braves, and 3 with Cincinnati. Ryan into the windup, and the 2-1 pitch to Duncan is taken for a strike, and it was off speed. He didn't give him a good fastball at all. He changed up and got it over. 2-2. Brock opened up the inning with a walk. Sax singled. Then Valenzuela sacrificed, and here is Duncan. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Mariano waiting with his 35 RBIs. He hits a chopper to Davis, so the runners have to hold. The throw to Doran is barely in time, but it was, but barely. So the runners hold, as the best Mariano Duncan can do is roll it to Glenn Davis, and the batter is Ken Landreaux. So Duncan is grounded out 3-4, and here's Landreaux, who struck out in the first inning, chasing a bad ball. Kenny hitting .271. He has 48 runs batted in and 12 home runs. How has Landreaux done against Nolan Ryan in his career? Not much at all. Hitting about 135 and change at best. He swings, grounds it to first, and Ryan is out of the trouble as he gets Duncan and Landreaux, and the Dodgers leave runners at second and third. At the end of an inning and a half, Dodgers 3, Astros nothing.
Well, we're taking a look at the Dodgers schedule. Let's see what St. Louis is doing, because that and New York, of course, vitally interested in each other, those two teams. St. Louis has 11 games left. They'll be at Montreal on the, let's do this in chronological order. They're hosting Philadelphia tonight, of course, and winning at the moment. They did come back and score. They're 3-2 now against the Phils. Then they have another game with the Phils tomorrow. Then they will be at Montreal, traveling to Montreal for the 27th, the 28th, and the 9th. Then home again, New York. Hosting New York on October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And then the Cards will wind up the season hosting the Cubs for 3 games on October 4th, 5th, and 6th. Now, the Mets have just 10 games left. They have lost today. The Cubs beat them 5-4. They have another game with the Cubs tomorrow. Then they'll be at Pittsburgh on September 27th and 28th and 29th for 3 games. And then the Mets with the big confrontation at St. Louis for 3 games, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Then they'll wind up back home, and by then it may be too late, depending on what happens at St. Louis. And they'll be hosting Montreal for 3 games on October 4th, 5th, and 6th. And as of now, with the Mets loss to the Cubs today in that early day game, they are now 3.5 games behind St. Louis. Let's get back to the Astrodome.
Bottom of the second inning, the Dodgers leading the Astros 3-0, and Jerry Mumphrey, Phil Garner, and Alan Ashby in that order. Mumphrey tries to bunt, leaves it in Scioscia's mitt, and the count 0-1. Mumphrey had a 12-game hitting streak stopped last night. Jerry hitting right-handed against Fernando. In the National League, there are 4 teams still alive, and everyone else has been mathematically eliminated. The strike 1 pitch on the way is high, and the Mets are playing with dynamite as they lost today. Cincinnati losing to Atlanta 2-1 in the 7th inning. The 1-1 pitch is low. The Cardinals leading Philadelphia 3-2, and they're in the 2nd inning, and of course the Dodgers. Everybody else has called it a year. The magic number for the Dodgers 7, for the Cardinals 8. The 2-1 pitch is taken outside. Ball 3-1. Mumphrey, Garner, and Ashby. And Fernando leading 3-0 in the 2nd inning as the Dodgers try to win 8 out of 9. This would be their most productive year ever in the Astrodome. A fly ball to right. Marshall coming in a hurry. Going to land in front of him for a base hit. And then Mumphrey draws a throw but gets back to the bag. So somewhat reminding you of the first inning when Marshall sliced one to right and it bounced over Mumphrey's head. Mumphrey slices one to right. Marshall, more cautious, made the play and got it back to the infield. So Mumphrey is at first, and here is Phil Garner. Garner with a .256 average, and we mentioned he and Cruz have hit Fernando pretty well. And Garner takes outside, ball 1. Garner has hit .313 now for the last 3 weeks. So he has his average up to .256, and he has a look at Dennis Menke. Dodgers moving Kenny Landreaux just a tad to straightaway center. Guerrero deep in left, Marshall up a step or 2 in right. 3 runs, 3 hits, no errors for the Dodgers, no runs, 1 hit for Houston. We're in the 2nd inning, and Garner takes a strike. 1-1. Dodgers trying to make it 13 of the 18 from Houston. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way is instead a throw to first. The Dodgers have won 12 games from Atlanta, so they could win as many as 14 from the Braves. The most they can win from Houston would be tonight to make it 13. 1-1 pitch on the way, and that's outside, ball 2. Over in the East, the Dodgers did pretty well. They won 7 out of 12 against the Cubs, Montreal, the Mets, and St. Louis. 8 out of 12 from Pittsburgh, but they couldn't beat Philadelphia very easily, and the Phils knocked them off 8 out of 12. And of course, we have said goodbye to the Eastern Division, where the Dodgers wound up 8 games over 500. Last year, they were buried by the East. Over in the West, as we said, they have really given Atlanta a bad time and Houston. The 2-1 pitch, our one-hopper, flagged by Duncan, feeds Sax back to Brock. Double play. Oh, what a play by Mariano Duncan. That thing looked like it was in left center field. And instead, Garner goes back into the dugout, having just hit into the hardest double play he'll ever hit into. Fine play by Mariano Duncan. Boy, what eye-hand coordination to steer a ball hit that hard coming off AstroTurf. Double play, 6-4-3. And with 2 out in the second inning, the switch-hitting catcher, Alan Ashby, takes a strike, 0-1. San Diego is the one team in the West that has a record that is reasonably good against the Dodgers. San Diego has beaten them 9 of 16. And the Dodgers are barely above 500 against the Giants. And they have 3 with San Francisco starting this weekend. Here's the 1-1 pitch, and Ashby takes low, ball 2, 2-1. So we're winding down tonight, the last road game, and the Dodgers go home for the final 10 of the regular season. The 2-1 pitch, Fernando delivers, screwball, swung on and missed. What a pitch. Normally you'd expect a screwball maybe away to a right-hand hitter, but he just threw Ashby a dandy on the inside part of the plate. Allen just kind of waved at it. Here's a 2-2 pitch. Fernando delivers a check swing ground ball. Duncan spears, fires, gets him. And Mariano Duncan made it an easy inning for Fernando. A base hit and nothing else, and at the end of 2, Dodgers 3, Astros nothing.
Pennsylvania voters will mark their ballots on November the 5th in a statewide election to select members of the Superior Court and for other offices in each county and municipality. Military members may use a single federal postcard application, an FPCA, to request an absentee ballot from the County Board of Elections. If you are unregistered, your FPCA will also serve as a registration application. If you hail from Pennsylvania, see your voting assistance officer today. Voters from Ohio will cast their ballots in general elections on November the 5th in cities all across the state. Members of the U.S. Armed Forces may vote by FPCA, a federal postcard application. Military members and their spouses need not be registered to legally cast their vote. But your FPCA must reach the county election board 3 days prior to the election date. Ohio voters in the military should see their unit voting assistance officer today.
Coming Monday and Tuesday nights. Tickets for both of these games are available at the Dodgers Advance Ticket Office on Stadium Way, at Robinson's Downtown Store, and at Ticketron and Ticketmaster outlets. The Padres at Dodger Stadium this coming Monday and Tuesday nights. Make your ticket plans now, for there's lots going on at Dodger Stadium. Be a part of it. 2 innings in, the Dodgers got a little lucky, and they're delighted, and they're leading 3-0 against Nolan Ryan and the Astros. We go to the 3rd, and for more play-by-play, here's Ross Porter.
Thank you, Vinny. Good evening, everybody. Bill Madlock, who got that first inning flourish started for the Dodgers when he was grazed by a Ryan pitch 2 outs deep into the inning with nobody on, and the Dodgers turned it into a 3-run frame, leaves it off. And as a drive to left field, fading the ball is Jim Pankovits that makes the catch. Madlock coming into the game with a 17-game hitting streak. Hit it hard, but Pankovits got it. Here's Guerrero. Pedro singled in the first inning. Then Mike Marshall came up, cracked his bat, and flared a 2-run triple to right for Marshall, his first triple of the year. Then the wild pitch by Ryan got Marshall home. Time called, but Ryan releases the ball anyway to Guerrero. But Fleming had called time. Nolan Ryan became the first pitcher in baseball history to record 4,000 career strikeouts in July this summer. He's had a Guerrero ball 1. Ryan got his first strikeout back in 1966. And it's hard to believe he's never led the National League in strikeouts. Guerrero drives one to the opposite field, but Jerry Mumphrey's going to get it. And that's the second out of the inning. Here comes Marshall, who had 4 hits last night, after striking out 6 consecutive times going into last evening's battle. Oh, Ryan led the American League 7 times in strikeouts. He had 245 strikeouts here one year with Houston, but has never faced the National League in Ks. Marshall fouls it out of play off to the right. Ryan won a ball game June 17th in Atlanta, and then he didn't win again until August 28th. He went 13 starts without a victory, dropped 8 in a row during that time. The 0-1 pitch. Fastball away from Ashby, a ball and a strike. Ryan has won at least 10 games in each of his last 14 seasons, but he has only 9 wins right now. Swing and a miss by Marshall, 1-2. 3-0 Dodgers. The Dodgers with 3 hits, the Astros with 1. And the bottom of the 7th in Cincinnati, Braves 2, Reds 1. High and inside, and Marshall just out of the way of that one. 2-2. Ryan, who is 38, has signed a new 2-year contract with 1 option year. He says that he can continue pitching through 1987. He thinks he'll become the first power pitcher of his era the last 20 years in the big leagues. One-handed swing by Marshall, one hopper to Garner. Bill sets and throws and gets him. And for the first time tonight, the Dodgers are gone in order against Nolan Ryan. We played 2.5 at the Dome. The Dodgers 3 and the Astros nothing.
Well, the Mets had a heartbreaker today. Pinch hitter Chris Spire singled home Davey Lopes with 2 out in the bottom of the 9th. That lifted the Cubs to a 5-4 victory over New York. And the sad part about it, the Mets wasted a grand slam homer by Gary Carter. Now, that loss drops the Mets, as we've noted earlier, 3.5 games now behind the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cards are playing tonight, of course, with Philadelphia. Lee Smith, 7-4 on the year, worked 2 innings of scoreless relief. He got the win for the Cubs. With 2 out in the 9th, Lopes walked, stole both 2nd and 3rd before Bob Denier walked. Spire stroked the 2-2 pitch from Jesse Orozco into left field. That was the game winner. Orozco's now 6-6 on the year. The Cubs got 1 run in the 6th inning and 2 in the 7th. That was to come back from a 4-1 deficit produced by Carter's 6th-inning grand slammer, the 9th of his career. And you can bet when Gary Carter hit that one and it was 4-1, they must have thought that they had that game locked. In the bottom of the 6th inning, those singles by Bob Denier and Sean Dunston and a sacrifice fly by Ryan Sandberg cut that Met lead to 4-2. Then in the 7th, New York starter Ron Darling gave up a double to Leon Durham and singles to Ron Say and Thad Bosley, and that cut the Met lead to 4-3. The Cubs just crawled back in this one. Roger McDowell replaced Darling. He got pinch hitter Richie Hebner to hit into a fielder's choice at second base. McDowell intentionally walked Denier to load the bases. Then Dunston hit a sacrifice fly to deep center. That scored Dave Owen. That tied the game, and eventually the Cubs took it 5-4.
The Reds have tied the Braves now. 2-2, they go on to the 8th. Rick Mailer for Atlanta in his first appearance in a long time. Mailer looking for his 18th one of the year. He's pitted tonight against Jay Tibbs. These Astros will be in Cincinnati over the weekend for 3. And Mike Scott and Bob Knepper will pitch the final 2 games of that series after Jeff Heathcock opens at Riverfront for Houston. Dickie Thon, hitting under 200 at the Dome this year, takes a strike from Fernando. Thon, Ryan, and Doran in the bottom of the 3rd. Dodgers 3, Astros nothing. Fernando delivers and is in the dirt with it. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Dodgers are off tomorrow, but the Reds play at 9:35 in the morning Pacific time against the Braves to wind up that series. Valenzuela's 1-1 curveball is bounced to the left side. Duncan one-hands it from shortstop, fires, and got him by a step. 1 away in the 3rd for Nolan Ryan. We once saw Ryan hit a home run here at the Dome off Don Sutton one day. Nolan, though, was in a prolonged hitting slump. He was 0 for 57 when he got a base hit in July. He's had 5 hits in all this year, including 2 doubles. Fernando, who lost an opening night here to Nolan in April 2-1. And the first pitch is high ball 1. Valenzuela had his first Major League start, his first complete game, his first shutout. All in the same afternoon against the Astros on opening day in 1981. 1 ball and 1 strike to Ryan. Fernando's next one in there for a called strike, 1-2. The Astros were mathematically eliminated from the National League West chase last night. Ryan takes outside, 2-2. And after the game, Bob Lillis was saying Los Angeles has been a good team all season. Well, it was nice of him to say, but not quite true. Ball 3-2. Bobby may have forgotten it, but 39 games into the season, the Dodgers were 3 games under 500 and sputtering. A full count to Nolan Ryan. Here comes Fernando Valenzuela's pitch. Fouled off the railing in front of the Houston dugout on the screen and ricocheted out to Sax. The Dodgers got 3 in the first. The All-Star with 2 out, nobody on. Madlock was hit by a pitch. Guerrero singled center. Marshall broke his bat and had a 2-run triple bounce over Mumphrey. Wild pitch got the 3rd run home. Ryan fouls it on the screen. Still 3-2. Speaking of 3-2, the Cardinals still leading the Phillies by that margin in the bottom of the second. The Cardinals trying to win their 13th game in the last 14 starts and move 4 up on the Mets, who lost today in Chicago. There's a ground ball to the right side. Sax in shallow right picks it up and throws out Ryan. So 2 away in the Astro 3rd inning. And here's Bill Doran. Doran flied to right his first time up. In the American League, Toronto leading Boston 1-0 in the bottom of the 6th inning. Wade Boggs went into that game tonight hitting .372 for the Red Sox, having a sensational year. That's awesome enough. But what's hard to believe is that Boggs still has not popped up to the infield this season. How could that be on the 25th of September? Doran takes high for a ball. The 1-0 pitch. Screwball is lifted to shallow center. Landreau's going to get it. Steve Sax was saying before the game tonight, his brother Dave, who's on the Red Sox, that Boggs has fouled out this year, but no, he hadn't popped one up to an infielder yet. Fernando's got the Astros in order. We go to the 4th. The Dodgers 3 and Houston nothing.
Now an update from ABC News. I'm Jerry Hamilton. Hurricane Gloria was downgraded a bit tonight from Category 5, the strongest, to just below 5, but forecasters say even a 4 is a very strong storm. Gloria has winds of 150 miles an hour and remains a serious threat to the eastern seaboard from the Carolinas to New England. The U.S. Geological Survey said tonight it miscalculated the first earthquake in Mexico last week. It was 8.1 on the Richter scale instead of 7.8. Another American died today in a Mexico City hospital. 28 Americans are still missing, and U.S. Ambassador John Gavin says he doesn't have much hope for them.
Within a few hours, our hopes of being able to pull people out alive will have vanished.
There are about 13,000 Americans who have AIDS, but a new ABC News survey shows many of us believe there are at least 1 million cases. The poll of 1,500 adults shows many people are badly informed about the way AIDS is transmitted. Jerry Hamilton, ABC News.
Let's see what else is happening, in case you're not aware of just who is playing whom tonight. Montreal's at Pittsburgh. Atlanta is at Cincinnati. And as we have noted several times during this broadcast, Philadelphia is visiting St. Louis. Charles Hudson starting for the Phillies. Danny Cox for the Cards. Cox with a 16-9 record. San Francisco's at San Diego. That game should be getting underway about 35 to 40 minutes from now. Roger Mason starting for the Giants. He's 0-1 on the season. Lamar Hoyt starting for San Diego, 15-8, and one would hate to go up against somebody like Lamar Hoyt. So you've got to have a little sympathy there for Roger Mason. You're listening to Major League Baseball. This is the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Tom Hume came in to pitch at Cincinnati in the top of the 8th, got the Braves out, so they're still 2-2. Right here, 3-0 Dodgers. Let's go to the 4th, and for more play, here's Vinny.
All right, Ross, it'll be Mike Scioscia. It's the first pitch back to Ryan, who does a ballet move to backhand it, whirl, and throw him out. So Mike Scioscia losing a base hit on a fine play by Nolan Ryan. 1 down, and Greg Brock coming up. Greg Brock walked, got around to 3rd in the 2nd inning. Then he'll be followed by Steve Sax. The Dodgers got 3 in the first and had a golden opportunity, 2nd and 3rd, and 1 out in the 2nd. But Duncan and Landreaux were tied up by Ryan. But Greg Brock hitting .249. Ryan checks, Nolan into the windup. The right-hander delivers, and it's lifted foul or first down the line. Mumphrey coming after it, but this one's going to be back into the stands out of play. Bill Doran came over as well to take a look. 0-1. If you like to read baseball literature, sports literature, then I'm sure you're well aware of the book The Boys of Summer, one of the more famous baseball books written about the Brooklyn Dodgers. And the man who wrote that book, Roger Kahn, is here in Houston and is going back to Los Angeles with the Dodgers. Strike one pitch to Brock, and that's fouled away, 0-2. Roger also has a book out now that's doing pretty well. What he did was he actually purchased a Class D minor league team for a year and then wrote a book about it. And that's interesting. The title of it is wonderful. The strike two pitch to Brock is high, ball one. The title of the book is Good Enough to Dream. Well, anyway, Roger has been assigned to write, I guess, a pretty good piece, which will appear in the New York Times, and it would be nice if it was picked up for all of us on the West Coast. The pitch to Brock is low, ball two, 2-2. But the article will appear on the last Sunday of the regular season, and it'll be about the Dodgers. The 2-2 pitch fouled away, and about this current group of Dodgers. I don't know, does the Los Angeles Times pick up articles from the New York Times? Well, hopefully it would be well worth the time for all of us to read it. So Roger Kahn covering the Dodgers yet again. The 2-2 pitch to Greg Brock swung on and fouled back. Still 2-2. One out in the fourth inning. 3-0 Dodgers. Ryan, both feet on the rubber. Ashby in a crouch behind the plate. Now Nolan into the windup, and the 2-2 pitch on the way, and Brock swings, fouls it back. Got a nice letter from a gentleman in Long Beach, Mr. Anderson, who wrote to remind us about the passing of Casey Stengel. However, I think Mr. Anderson is a little wrong. He thought today was the 10th anniversary of Casey's passing. According to the baseball book we just spent some time looking up, it's the 29th. The pitch to Brock outside, ball three. But either way, we're within a few days, one side or the other, of the passing of one of the great names in baseball history, Casey Stengel. The 3-2 pitch, and Brock takes ball four, so he's walked a second time. Had Casey lived, he'd have been 95. I think he was born in 1890. Here is Sax, singled in the second inning, 1-1. Dodgers 3, Astros nothing, top of the fourth, one away. Ryan straightens up, a look over at first. Brock takes his lead. The pitch to Sax turned him around. That almost got him in the ribs. Texas ribs, barbecue style, Ryan style. 1 ball, no strikes. Ryan again checking, Sax waiting, Fernando on deck. And the 1-0 pitch, Saxy fouls it away off to the right, sliced upstairs, and goes rattling down below. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1962, that's when they opened up the Astrodome. The late Roy Hopkins, who was the mayor of Houston in his 30s, the man responsible for the building of the dome, and what a place it is. Saxy fouls another one away, 1-2. The judge, as he was known, Judge Roy Hopkins, one of his biggest dreams was not fulfilled, because when he built the Astrodome, he was hoping it would house both the Democratic and the Republican convention. The 1-2 pitch is lined to center base hit. Brock will only go to second. Lyndon Johnson was the president. They had a presidential suite which was decorated according to Lady Bird's choice. The place was ready, but then when the conventioneers came and studied Houston, the city didn't have enough hotels, and they didn't hold a convention here. And another busted dream. But the Astrodome is here, and the Dodgers trying to win more games this year in the Astrodome than ever. They've already tied their best year. They won 7 out of 9 in 1962. They won 7 of 8 this year, and they're leading 3-0 with 2 on and 1 out. And Valenzuela at the plate. And it's a pickoff throw, and just getting back is Brock. They tried to set Brock up, and they really did, but he was able to get back. As soon as Garner came charging to the plate and Dickie Thon broke to cover third, Brock was kind of drawn towards third, thinking he could run with Thon. And Doran circled back, and he just did get back. What is it, the song of the Lorelei that got sailors to crash their ships on the rocks? Dickie Thon was singing the song, trying to get Brock to follow him. And they almost got him, and Greg just did get back. So 2 on, 1 out, and we'll watch Fernando. He's bunting, now swinging, and fouled it away. And Garner again coming to the plate with Thon racing to cover third. In the inning, and it's been a big play, Scioscia hit the ball sharply back through the middle, and it was backhanded by Nolan Ryan, who turned a hit into an out. And then Brock walked and Sax singled. The Dodgers 3 runs, 4 hits off Noli. He has only 1 strikeout. He does not appear from up here as if he's got that really good Nolan Ryan fastball. He didn't look it back in the first 2 innings. Full swing and a high chopper. It's going to be Dickie Thon and Garner colliding, and everybody's safe. Thon tries to argue that Sax had bumped him, but Sax and going to second, and Brock was entitled to the baseline. So the bases are going to be loaded on an infield single. Garner and Thon were going after the ball, but they were actually going right into Brock, and Brock had nowhere to go. He tried to get out of the way of one man. That was Garner, but he hit Thon, and then Thon and Garner collided. So the Dodgers have an AstroTurf bouncing single by Fernando, and the bases are loaded with 1 out. So in a moment, Mariano Duncan will be coming up. Bob Lillis continues to argue with Dick Stello. John Kibler is discussing the play with Alan Ashby. Fernando was around to bunt and beat it down on the rug, and that thing must have gone a good 25 feet in the air at least. And when he hit it down, it looks like Bob Lillis is now going to be kicked out of the game. Brock had gotten by the shortstop, Thon, and then Thon and Garner collided. But Brock had not really interfered. He was just trying to get over to third. And Lillis is so irate that it would appear he's been kicked out of the game. And the Dodgers, with the bases loaded and 1 out. Nolan Ryan is still over there with the argument. Noli normally would be on the mound loosening up to his catcher, but Ashby is out there in the middle of things as well. So on the AstroTurf, the Dodgers have loaded the bases on a high chopper by Fernando. As Garner and Thon collide, Brock bumped Thon, but he was sandwiched there as he was just running towards third base. Lillis, of course, sees it a totally different way. And we're just going to have to wait till Bobby gets it all out of his craw. It is stuck there, however. He grumbles some more to Stello, then to Kibler. Now Nolan Ryan talking to Kibler. Bruce Fleming goes behind the plate, and the Dodgers have the bases loaded. So Bob Lillis is going to get the last few words in. Of course, he's spending house money if he's been kicked out of the game. This is just some extra steam. And he continues to talk to John Kibler. Boy, you hit a ground ball and it bounces that high in the air. You have a traffic jam, and it's no one's fault except the AstroTurf. Ryan continues to appeal. Lillis is still there. Ashby goes behind the plate, but he doesn't have anybody to catch because Ryan is still out there at shortstop. And now Bob Lillis says, all right, Noli, you better go back and warm up. I've gotten it out of me, and I'll go back. So Bob Lillis leaves, and the Dodgers have the bases loaded with 1 out. Fernando Valenzuela with an infield single at first. Steve Sax at second. Greg Brock at third. And Bob Lillis handing the card to a coach, and he'll have to leave the premises. And down the runway, and he's gone. All right, we'll see about Mariano Duncan. He came up with runners at second and third in the second inning and grounded out to Glenn Davis. So Mariano now with a chance to break it open. Remember, the Dodgers got 3 in the first inning. They had second and third with 1 out in the second and couldn't score. Now they have the bases loaded with 1 out in the fourth inning, leading 3-0 and trying to get a bundle. Brock down the line from third, Sax away from second, Valenzuela at first, and Ryan staring in to get a sign from Alan Ashby. Nolan into the windup, and the first pitch to Duncan is swung on and hit foul up along first, and the count 0-1. No balls, 1 strike to count. Ashby with a new ball to put in play. 3 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit, and no errors for the Astros. Dodgers hoping for Duncan to get a base hit that would really open it up. On deck, Ken Landreaux. 0-1 to Mariano. Duncan has 1 hit in 9 at-bats. Swings, doesn't get it. Strike 2. So Ryan now trying to put him away. The only man he struck out was Landreaux, who chased a bad ball back in the first inning. So Ryan would love to rely on the thing he has relied on for these many years, a strikeout to get him out of a jam. Duncan waiting, Ryan to the windup, and the strike 2 pitch is a ground ball by the mound down to short. They feed second for 1 to first, too late. The run is in. The Astros following at Bob Davidson, and Dickie Thon comes all the way over, and he's kicked out of the game. Dickie Thon came all the way over from shortstop to get kicked out of the game. That's what, in a sense, he did. And this crowd is furious as the Dodgers get an additional run. Duncan just did beat the throw. So it's a 6-4 force play, and Thon has been kicked out to join his manager, Bob Lillis. So it's a noisy night here in the Dome, and the Astros are furious, and Dickie Thon has to leave the field. So give Mariano Duncan a run batted in. The force play at second base gives Valenzuela a chance to go back in the dugout and sit down. Sax takes third as Brock scores. That's something. A shortstop running all the way over to first base to argue, and apparently he said something out of order and was gone immediately. The throw, you would think if anybody was going to argue, it would be Doran. And Duncan, with a burst of speed, just did make it. Bert Pena will now take over at shortstop for Dickie Thon. So the Dodgers lead 4-0. In the inning, the one ball that was really hit, Ryan made the good play on Scioscia. Then Brock walked and Sax singled. Valenzuela got the high chopper for a base hit as Thon bumped Brock and then collided with Garner, and everyone ruled safe. Lillis was ejected. Duncan hits into a force play. Thon is ejected. And the Dodgers, leading 4-0, with 2 out, have runners at first and third. And the batter is Ken Landreaux. And we'll watch Mariano Duncan to see if he tries to go. The Dodgers certainly tried to run on Ashby, and we'll see if they turn Mariano loose. Ryan will look at Duncan. Landreaux waiting, and a throw over there, and jumping back on the bag is Duncan. He has 29 stolen bases. They're in the 9th inning in Cincinnati in a 2-2 tie. Duncan, right foot on the rug. 4-0 Dodgers in the 4th. Sax down the line from third. And with 2 out, Ryan again throws, and back to the bag goes Duncan. Sax has 26 stolen bases, Duncan 29. So the 2 Dodger Rabbits are at first and third with 2 out. And Ken Landreaux with a 270 average at the plate. Ryan ready and checking very deliberately. Duncan bluffs, and the pitch fouled away. Off to the left out of play, and the count 0-1. Ken Landreaux, who has had only 3 hits in his last 32 at-bats. So he's trying to find himself. 0-1 the count. So the Astros pay a big price in the inning. They give up at least a run. They lose manager Bob Lillis and their shortstop Dickie Thon by ejection. The strike 1 pitch. Ryan is set. There goes Duncan. The pitch, a busted bat fly ball to left field. Pankovits is there to make the catch. The inning is over, and the Dodgers managed to get one on 2 hits and lead 2. And at the end of 3.5 innings, the Dodgers 4 and the Astros nothing.
Well, we've had another game today besides the Chicago Mets game, which, of course, was the important game of the day thus far, with the Cubs beating the Mets 5-4. Over in the American League, Benny Ayala and Chris Bando each drove in 2 runs, led the Cleveland Indians to a 7-2 victory over the Oakland A's. Keith Creel is now 1-5 on the year. He pitched 6 2/3 innings for Cleveland. He allowed 7 hits and 2 walks. He struck out 4 batters before giving way to Dave Von Olen. Tommy John took the loss. Tommy does not have a very enviable record this season, 4-10 on the year. Cleveland took a 2-0 lead in the first inning when, with 2 out, Julio Franco and Andre Thornton both singled, and Ayala doubled home both runners. The Indians made it a big 6-0 in the second inning when Carmen Castillo singled, went to second on a wild pitch. Then he moved to third on Tony Bernazard's single. Bernazard then stole second before Bando doubled to make it 4-0. Brett Butler's single moved Bando to third. Joe Carter's force outscored Bando. Carter stole second, took third on catcher Mickey Tettleton's throwing error. So 7-2 for the Indians.
Bottom of the 4th inning, and it's been all Dodgers leading 4-0. Fernando Valenzuela warming up to Mike Scioscia. Jim Pankovits, followed by Kevin Bass, and then Glenn Davis. As the Astros lose 2 arguments and the manager and a shortstop. Bob Lillis and Dickie Thon are gone. Cott Deal is the acting manager for the Astros. Bert Pena is finishing up for Dickie Thon. So Fernando, who has worked through the first 3 innings, allowing just 1 hit. The hit was to Mumphrey, and then Garner killed the ball. And the shortstop, Mariano Duncan, made a great play and started a double play. So that's all Fernando has. He's faced 9 men, plus the walk to Pankovits. So 1 above the minimum in 3 innings. Pankovits, not been up officially, checks in now. 4-0 Dodgers. They're in the bottom of the 9th inning at Cincinnati, all tied 2-2 with Atlanta. Fernando into the windup, and the pitch to Pankovits, breaking ball strike, 0-1. The Mets lost, the Cubs beat them, and the Cardinals are leading Philadelphia 4-3 in the bottom of the 3rd. Pankovits, a fly ball to Landreaux. Kenny with a lot of room and a lot of time. Just 1 hands it casually, 1 away. The Dodgers would like to cut the magic number to 6 here, and then, of course, if Atlanta should beat Cincinnati, it would go to 5 before coming home. As we said, the Reds are at bat in the bottom of the 9th, all tied up 2-2. In the American League, Toronto leading Boston 1-0 in the 7th. The Yankees barely alive, but they're leading Detroit 5-1 in the 6th. And it's still too early. Chicago, California, and Kansas City and Seattle. Brett Saberhagen trying to snap a 10-game losing streak for the Royals against Seattle, and Matt Young will go up against him. The pitch to Bass is a strike, and the count 1-1. Kevin fly deep to center in the first inning, hitting right-handed. A lot of power from this side. Fernando trying to win his 18th. Into the windup, and the 1-1 pitch. Screwball fouled away, and it got foaming on the right foot. 1-2. Oral Hershiser, Friday night, will be going for his 18th against Vida Blue. Saturday, Jerry Royce, 13-10 against Atlee Hammaker. And then Sunday, Bob Welsh, 12-4 against Dave LaPointe, 7-15. The pitch to Bass inside, 2-2. That's the menu for the weekend. Hope you'll be with us at Dodger Stadium. Join in the fun as the Dodgers get closer and closer and closer. The 2-2 pitch to Kevin Bass. Fastball down and away. Ball 3. 3-2. Dodgers 3 with the Giants, 2 with San Diego, 2 with Atlanta, and then the final weekend of the year with the Cincinnati Reds. Fernando from the third base side of the pitching rubber looks in to get a sign, and the 3-2 pitch, fastball hit to left center, not deep. Landreaux has to come up for it to make the catch, so Bass didn't get much of that. 2 down. Landreaux has handled the last 3 fly balls. Kenny has 4 putouts in center field, and here's Glenn Davis. Davis hit the ball hard in the first inning. It was a shot, but Fernando stayed with it and made the play. Each pitcher has contributed a gem defensively. Fernando on Davis, and Ryan on Scioscia. And the pitch to Glenn Davis, low, ball one. 1-0. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's inside, ball two. 2-0 the count. Sax deep and almost behind second base because Davis, a pull hitter, he takes low. But he's a kid with tremendous strength. He homered to right center field for his only home run in this series. 330 down the lines, 378 up the alleys, and 400 to center. As I'm sure you know, they brought the fences in this year. The 3-0 pitch is low, so a 2-out pass to Davis will bring up Jerry Mumphrey. Fernando with 2 walks and a single. That's what he's allowed up to here. Jerry Mumphrey single to right field, fly ball single. That was in the second inning. Jerry switch hitter, batting right-handed. Fernando kind of gazing out at Landreaux, who shades Mumphrey a little bit toward right center. The Dodgers bring Guerrero up in left, and the pitch in for a strike. They bring Guerrero up about a half a dozen steps and then move him slightly over towards left center. Here's the strike one pitch on the way. Fastball late is bad as Mumphrey fouls it back. 0-2. Phil Garner on deck. 4-0 Dodgers in the fourth inning. Trying to reduce the number to 6. Meanwhile, Cincinnati in a 2-2 tie at home with Atlanta, and they're in the bottom of the ninth. The strike two pitch on the way is a chopper to the right side to Sax. He has to jump in the air to get it, throws to Brock, and that's it. So they lead Davis, and at the end of 4-0 Dodgers.
Well, if you're wondering what's happening in the drug trials, of course, you recall last week Curtis Strong was convicted on something like 11 counts. A jury deliberated for several hours today, Wednesday, without reaching a verdict in the case against Robert McHugh. He's charged with 13 counts of selling cocaine to ex-Pirates Dale Berra and John Milner in baseball's second drug trial. After hearing closing arguments from both the counsel and Judge Maurice Cohill's instructions on points of law on Tuesday, the jury returned to federal court today, began its deliberation shortly after 9 o'clock in the morning, but 7.5 hours later, the jury was excused for the day and instructed to return Thursday morning to continue its consideration of the charges against McHugh. McHugh is a former Easter Seal Society official, also a part-time Pittsburgh disc jockey. About mid-morning on Wednesday, the jury submitted a written request to examine a chart of the testimony and charges used by defense attorney John Nikoloff in his final argument. Although the chart hadn't been admitted as evidence, the counsel for both sides agreed to permit the jury to see that chart. It's sort of a summary chart of all the evidence. At that time, the jury also asked the judge to repeat in writing the 3 essential elements that the prosecution has to prove on each count to obtain a drug trafficking conviction. So it's not apparently a cut-and-dried case. Then shortly before lunch, the jury returned to the courtroom, heard the judge reread his original instructions on evaluating the testimony of witnesses who were testifying under immunity, and also the legal definition of reasonable doubt. And, of course, that is always important in a trial. We'll talk more about this later. Let's get back
to the fifth inning. The Dodgers 4 runs, 5 hits, no errors. The Astros no runs, 1 hit, a fly ball single to right by Jerry Mumphrey. Bill Madlock, Pedro Guerrero, and Mike Marshall against Nolan Ryan. Madlock hit by a pitch in the first inning, lined out to left in the third. 0 for 1. Ryan delivers, and Madlock takes high, ball 1. Bill with a 17-game hitting streak. That's as long as any streak in his career. In 1976, he had one that long. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Fouled off to the right, out of play, and the count 1-1. Ryne Sandberg of the Cubs had the longest hitting streak in the league, 18. 1-1 the count. Ryan nods into the windup. The 1-1 pitch, and that's high and inside. Ball 2, 2-1. Pedro Guerrero waiting his turn on deck. And now Madlock's not ready, as Nolan Ryan was just about ready to go into his windup. Madlock backed off. Now the 2 veterans hook up again. 2-1 the count. Ryan into the windup. The 2-1 pitch to Madlock is swung on and missed. Strike 2. 2-2. Dodgers got 3 in the first inning with 2 outs. and added another in a very noisy fourth inning. Madlock checks, and it's going to cost him strike 3 called. He was fooled on a breaking ball. Ryan is not throwing hard. It is not anything like a Nolan Ryan performance. He is due to bat 4th when the Astros hit in the 5th inning. And they're going to send people down to the bullpen to get ready. Bill Doran, the right-hander, begins to loosen up. And with 1 out, here's Guerrero. Guerrero singled and flied out. And he has a check swing foul over into the Astro dugout, and the count 0-1. In the first inning with 2 out, Madlock was hit by a pitch. Guerrero singled to center. Marshall hit a broken back single into right, and it bounced over Jerry Mumphrey's head. It wound up being a triple, and the Dodgers had 2, and then Nolan Ryan wild pitch Marshall home. Slider for a strike, and the count 0-2 to Guerrero. The Dodgers added another in the 4th as Mariano Duncan hit into a force play with the bases loaded. So it's 4-0 Dodgers, 5th inning, 1 out. Nolan Ryan checking with Alan Ashby. Nolan ready, and the strike 2 pitch coming up. Guerrero hits a one-hopper backhanded by Pena, and in shallow left field throws him out. Good play by Bert Pena, the young shortstop, finishing up for Dickie Thon. He took a base hit away from Guerrero. Let's pause quickly. This is the Los Angeles Dodgers Radio Network.
And we hope you're enjoying the game wherever in the world you happen to be listening to it. And we know you are listening to it on the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Mike Marshall, the batter. He got that fly ball AstroTurf kangaroo hop for a triple and grounded out. So Mike 1 for 2, hitting .289. Ryan delivers, chased and missed. Slider down and away, 0-1. The Astros are due to send up Garner, Ashby, and Pena, and if anybody gets on to extend the inning, Ryan's spot. The strike 1 pitch, waved at and missed, strike 2. That's the kind of swing that Marshall was taking when he struck out 6 consecutive at-bats, kind of groping for the ball. Now Mike back up to the plate, 0-2. Ryan ready, and the strike 2 pitch to Mike, swung on and missed. Down he goes. And at the end of 4.5, Dodgers 4, Astros nothing.
All right, we have time to talk a little bit more about that drug trial, Robert McHugh. As we mentioned, the jury has been asking all kinds of questions. They wanted a rereading and, in fact, in writing of the judge's instructions. They need to understand what reasonable doubt is, and if you've ever served on a jury, you know how difficult that can be to ascertain. Now, Dale Berra, who's now with the Yankees, a former Pittsburgh player, testified in that trial under immunity. Also John Milner, who's now retired from baseball, and both of them testified under immunity. They were apparently the bulk of the government's case against McHugh. McHugh is, as we said, a former employee. In fact, he was a controller for the local Easter Seal Society in Pittsburgh. He was fired the day after he was indicted. That was back on May 30th. And the interesting thing is the actual amount of cocaine that McHugh's accused of selling to Berra and Milner between June of '83 and January of '85 is exactly 8.5 grams. The total cost was $760. Now, for that amount of money, if convicted, McHugh faces a maximum sentence of 15 years in prison and a $25,000 fine on each count, and he has been indicted on 13 counts. What does that come out to? $325,000 possible fine and a possible max sentence of 15 years. There's more to this story, and we'll be telling you a little bit more about this on the next break. Let's get back to Vin Scully.
We're going to the bottom of the 5th inning with Phil Garner, Alan Ashby, and then Bert Pena. A couple of scores. Cincinnati failed to score in the 9th inning. So Atlanta coming to the bat in the 10th inning in a 2-2 tie. The Cardinals are breezing over Philadelphia 6-3 at the end of 3 innings. The Cardinals could be leading the Mets by 4 since the Mets lost to Chicago this afternoon 5-4. Here's Phil Garner, and Fernando deals a strike. Garner ripped the ball in the 2nd inning. Duncan made a marvelous play and converted it into a double play. 4-0 Dodgers in the 5th. Fernando right back, a little screwball outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Dolly is still throwing in the pen, so we'll see whether Cotdeo, who is the acting manager, goes for a hitter if he gets a shot. Ground ball smothered and gets away from Madlock, backed up by Duncan, and holding at first with an infield single is Garner. Madlock, who was wide of the bag, diving at the ball, and all he could do is slow it down. So Garner, a base hit. Hit number 2 against Fernando. Fernando, who had a high of 14 strikeouts against the Astros this year, does not have a strikeout, and we're in the 5th inning. The batter is Ashby, who grounded to short in the 2nd inning. Garner held on by Brock. Fernando delivers. Screwball is hit to Madlock. He goes to Sax, and he goes to Brock, and there's a double play. So a quick double play in the 5th inning, and Fernando has 2 out, and Bert Pena coming up. Nolan Ryan comes out on deck, and it might be his future will be determined about Pena. If Pena gets aboard, and now Dolly has stopped throwing in the pen, so we'll just wait and see. Pena's only had 20 at-bats, and he's hitting 300. Fernando's fastball hit foul. Back of first, down the line. Brock in pursuit, but it's in the seats. 0-1. Dodgers 4 runs, 5 hits, no errors. And the Astros no runs, 2 hits, no errors. 5th inning. Bert Pena, right-hand hitting infielder. The strike 1 pitch is a fastball away, 1-1. Dickie Thon had grounded to short in his only at-bat, and then he was ejected for arguing on a close play at first. The 1-1 pitch, low and inside, ball 2, 2-1. So they're in the 10th inning, Atlanta and the Reds, 2-2. Fernando's 2-1 pitch on the way. Scroogey swung on and missed, 2-2. Fernando trying to win his 18th and beat the Astros for the 3rd time this year. Misses low and inside. Lifetime, he is 10-4 against Houston. Pena, right-hand batter waiting. Full count, 2 down, and Ryan on deck. Fernando ready and delivers, and it's lifted to Landreaux. So Kenny, who has been busy, makes his 5th put out in center, and the Astros are done in the 5th. At the end of 5, 4-0 Dodgers.
Okay, a little bit more on that cocaine story, the trial of Robert McHugh in Pittsburgh. And, of course, again, this is the 2nd trial. Curtis Strong, the first man convicted of 11, I think it was 11 counts out of something like 15 or 16. Anyway, as we mentioned, McHugh faces a max sentence of 15 years in prison, $25,000 fine on each count. There are 13 counts in this indictment. Now, Del Berra and John Milner said they met McHugh at Michael J's. That's a tavern in Pittsburgh's South Hills area. It's frequented by athletes and sports fans. And McHugh was the lounge's once-a-week disc jockey for Oldies Night, and he also served as treasurer for what they call the Fantasy Football League that they used to have at the lounge. Berra testified he made 4 1-gram cocaine buys at a cost of $100 each. He said he made 2 of those buys at Michael J's, one of them, another in front of a North Side restaurant, and another at his North Hills condo. That's when he lived in Pittsburgh. Milner said he made 9 1/2-gram purchases at $40 each, and he said the cocaine was of poorer quality than he got from other pushers. He said he made 4 buys during 1983 and 84. 1 buy he made while driving with McHugh, check this, to see a wrestling show at Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. Hulk Hogan and the Iron Sheik were fighting that night. It's nothing sacred. Berra and Milner also testified with 5 other ball players against Philadelphia caterer Curtis Strong, of course, who was convicted last Friday on 14 counts is what it was, of selling cocaine to major leaguers. Let's get back.
The Dodgers leading the Astros 4-0 as we go to the 6th inning. Mike Scioscia, followed by Greg Brock, and then Steve Sax. Scioscia flied to left in the 1st inning, lost a hit on a good play by Nolan Ryan on a comebacker in the 4th. Mike 0 for 2, starting it off against Ryan. Scioscia right at the 300 mark now. He was at 305 for a while, and he has drifted down a little. Scioscia started the night at 301. Garner, even with the bag. Pena is overshifted at short. And the center fielder, Bass, shaded slightly to left center, but the pitch is way inside. Ball 1-0. 1 ball and no strikes to Mike Scioscia, opening up batters in the 6th inning. Ryan ready, Noli delivers, good fastball on the outside part of the plate, so the classic pattern. First one way inside, next one saws off the outside corner. Ryan's 1-1 pitch to Scioscia is taken on the outside part, and he took a little off at that time, so that's pretty good change. 1-2. Dodgers heading home. Tomorrow an off day. And starting Friday night, Roger Craig and the San Francisco Giants. The 1-2 pitch is way outside. Now let's see if Ryan is setting him up to come back inside. All Hershiser trying to win his 18th of the year. He'll be on the mound Friday night against Vida Blue. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Scioscia, and it's outside, so he's staying out there, and he's gone all the way. 3-2 to Mike Scioscia. Ryan building into the windup, and the pitch swung on and fouled back. Fastball. The Dodgers scored 3 in the first. Marshall tripled in Madlock and Guerrero. Mike was wild pitched home. The Dodgers added another in the 4th inning. A walk to Brock, single by Sax, an infield single by Valenzuela, and Brock came home as Duncan hit into a 4th. The Astros have not been able to generate anything. They have not gotten a man to second base through 5 innings. They have allowed Fernando to pretty much call his own shots through 5 innings. Scioscia drives it to left center and deep. Bass with the ball over his head has to go way back and backhands it for the out. So Scioscia deep to center, 1 away, and Greg Brock coming up. Dodgers have turned 2 double plays behind Fernando. And the Astros not making Fernando work very hard at all. He has faced just 2 above the minimum. Only faced 17 hitters. Brock with 2 walks. Checks in at 249. Scored in the 4th inning. Almost had to fight his way from 2nd to 3rd. And that high bouncer by Fernando. The pitch to Brock is swung on and popped in the air foul. Garner across the line at the far end of the Dodger dugout makes the catch for the out. Good play by Phil. 2 out in the 6th inning. Steve Sax will be the batter. Nolan Ryan is due to lead off in the bottom of the 6th. Bill Doran had thrown back of him in the 5th inning. There's no one throwing in the Astro bullpen now. Saxey is 2 for 2. Single to center in the 2nd, and the same thing in the 4th. Sax hitting 284. Ryan ready, delivers, and has a ground ball to the right side. Tricky hop, but Bill Doran stays with it to get him. And the Dodgers retired in order. That's 8 in a row retired by Ryan, and at the end of 5.5. Dodgers 4, Astros nothing.
Got a rather odd story out of Green Bay. Lynn Dickey of the Green Bay Packers says he does not deserve to be the starting quarterback. When was the last time you heard somebody say something like that? Coach Forrest Gregg says that he spoke with Dickey. The coach says Randy Wright, second-year player from Wisconsin, will start Sunday against the Cardinals in St. Louis. And according to Gregg, Lynn Dickey requested that he not be the starting quarterback. We're quoting Gregg now. Dickey's had a poor season. He was lifted, you'll remember, in the second half of the team's 24-3 loss last Sunday against the New York Jets. Deep down, says Dickey, I didn't feel I deserved to start. I've made mental mistakes that I just shouldn't make. And after what happened Sunday, I just think this is the right thing. Dickey is 35 now. He's been injured seriously during his career. He had minor injuries during preseason. He didn't play very much at that point. He says, I found that I didn't really care that I wasn't playing. He says, when I'd go back to my dorm room at night, I'd say to myself, this isn't right. I should care. I thought that after I did get into the last 2 exhibition games, I'd gotten myself ready to play, but I'm finding out now that that isn't the case. Now, Gregg admits the situation is what he calls topsy-turvy. He's at least a little upset by Dickey's request because he's never had a request not to start before. I doubt that most coaches have. Right away, your first reaction is, says Gregg, if the guy doesn't want to start, well, what good is he to you? But then he says no 2 situations are alike. The quarterback situation did become a little more complicated earlier last week. when the Packers, earlier this week actually, when the Packers signed Jim Zorn, once a star with the Seattle Seahawks. Greg said that signing had nothing to do with the team's poor offense. He said he wanted Zorn in case of injuries to Dickie or Wright.
We're going to the bottom of the 6th inning. In the background, happy birthday to Astro pitcher Ron Mathis. The Dodgers blew all his candles out and ate his cake last night. They got to him for 5 runs, so he's sadder, older, and wiser. Meanwhile, Bill Doran gets up in the Astro bullpen, and Eric Bullock, the kid outfielder who started last night in left field, comes off the bench to bat for Nolan Ryan, left-hand hitter. Bullock, in last night's game, went 0 for 2 with a walk, swings, and doesn't get it, 0-1. 4-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 6th. Madlock up inside the bag at third in the event of a bunt. Bullock left-handed, and Sax playing shallow right field. Half swing will cost a strike, and the count 0-2. Bullock has only had 13 at-bats in the big leagues, hitting .231. The strike 2 pitch coming up. Fernando delivers outside. Ball 1, 1-2. Fernando not wasting any time. The 1-2 pitch is swung on and fouled away, so Bullock is still there. They're in the bottom of the 10th inning in Cincinnati. Atlanta and the Reds are tied 2-2. St. Louis leading Philadelphia 6-3 in the 4th. Remember, the Mets lost this afternoon. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Fernando works it high. Ball 2. Toronto leading the Red Sox 1-0 top of the 8th. The Yankees leading 8-1 over Detroit in the bottom of the 7th. And it's still a little too early. Chicago, California, and Kansas City at Seattle. Bullock backs out. Fernando kind of looks over the Dodger dugout for the moment. Now the young outfielder checks back in. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. He chased the Scroogey down and away and pays the price. For Fernando, his first strikeout of the night. Nolan Ryan went 6 innings, allowed 4 runs and 5 hits. He walked 2 and hit a batter and struck out 3. Bill Doran flied to right, flied to center. He takes outside, ball 1, 1-0. Doran hitting .292. Fernando ready, and his 1-0 pitch on the way as the Scroogey that runs away. 2 balls and no strikes to Bill Doran. Jim Pankovits on deck. The Astros minus manager Bob Lillis and shortstop Dickie Thon. They've both been given the kick and gone. They pitch on the corner, 2-1. Both men chased for arguing in the 4th inning. Fernando's 2-1 pitch, swung on and missed. Fastball, and the count 2-2. 4 runs, 5 hits, no errors Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits, no errors Astros. A single by Mumphrey and a single by Garner. Check on a pitch in the dirt. Bruce Fromming will put a new ball in play. So Bill Doran with 1 out in the 6th inning. The Dodgers leading the Astros 4-0. For the first time in history, the Dodgers trying to win 8 here in the Astrodome. Fernando on the rubber, Doran waiting. 3-2 the count to Bill. And Fernando comes to him, fastball low, ball 4. It's the 3rd walk given up by Valenzuela and brings up Jim Pankovits. Pankovits walked and flied to center. Pankovits, right-hand batter, hitting .252. On deck, Kevin Bass. Fernando reading Scioscia. Doran a short lead held on by Brock. And with 1 out, Fernando delivers, and the Scroogey a strike. The Dodgers have turned 2 double plays, started by Duncan and by Madlock. And each time, Sax the middleman. 0-1 the count to Pankovits. Fernando strike 1 pitch, off-speed screwball, and that's fouled away, and the count 0-2. Valenzuela is 17-10, 2-1 against Houston, 10-4 lifetime. Fernando straddling the rubber as he reads Scioscia. Pankovits had backed out. Kevin Bass waiting his turn. A look to Doran. Now Fernando to the plate and gets it over. On the corner, strike 3 called. That takes care of Pankovits. And it was a curveball. The second strikeout for Fernando. Two out, bottom of the 6th. 4-0 Dodgers. They're in the bottom of the 10th. Atlanta and Cincinnati 2-2. Kevin Bass hit 2 fly balls to Landreaux. Fernando delivers. Fastball straightens him up inside. Ball 1, 1-0. On deck, the first baseman, Glenn Davis. Fernando at the belt, a check of Doran, the 1-0 pitch. Bass has a look at a strike, and the count 1-1. Fernando has walked Pankovits, Doran, and Davis. He has struck out the pinch hitter Bullock and Pankovits, and he's allowed just 2 hits. Fly ball single by Mumphrey, and a single of Madlock's glove by Garner. The 1-1 pitch is taken inside. Ball 2, 2-1. Here's the 2-1 pitch coming up. We can tell you that Cincinnati failed to score in the bottom of the 10th inning. Now the 2-1 pitch swung on, foul back. 2-2. So they go to the 11th at Riverfront. Atlanta 2, Cincinnati 2. The Dodgers leading the Astros 4-0 here in the bottom of the 6th. 2 out. Two and 2 to Kevin Bass. Fernando checking. Scioscia setting a target. Fernando comes to his hitter. Fastball. A high chopper back to Fernando. He does a 360 and flips over to Brock. So Bass surprised and was a little late on that fastball. No runs, no hits, a man left. And at the end of 6, Dodgers 4, Astros nothing.
Now this ABC News Brief. Hurricane Gloria is one of the most powerful storms to cross the Atlantic Ocean and is now packing winds of 135 miles an hour, heading for the eastern seaboard. A hurricane watch is up for the Carolinas and Virginia. It's not known where or even whether Gloria will come ashore, but because of her strength, coastal areas along the eastern seaboard are being warned. Secretary of State George Shultz met today with Russia's foreign minister, saying nothing new came out of the talks. They are in preparation for November's Geneva summit meeting between the superpowers. Another American has died of injuries suffered in last week's earthquake, a New Hampshire man on his honeymoon, bringing to 6 the total number of dead. 28 Americans are missing, and Mexican officials say more than 4,500 people have perished so far in the disaster. A fire broke out on the Unit 1 reactor at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania Monday, just before it was to be restarted. But a judge had delayed that restart. It was the second fire in the reactor in less than 3 weeks. From ABC News, I'm Caroline Kell.
Tickets for both games are available at the Dodgers Advance Ticket Office, 1750 Stadium Way, at Robinson's downtown store, and at Ticketron and Ticketmaster outlets. That's the Dodgers and the Braves for 2 games, a week from tonight and a week from tomorrow night. Make your ticket plans now for these and other remaining Dodger games. Dodger Baseball, the best buy in town.
Don't forget, the Dodgers home after this one tonight, tomorrow an off day, and they open up their final 10-game homestand of the regular season with the Giants Friday night at Dodger Stadium. Let's go to the 7th. 4-0 Dodgers. More play. Here's Ross.
All right, Vinny. Bill Doran is the new pitcher for Houston, and Fernando will lead it off in the Dodgers' 7th inning. Doran, appearing for his 46th time this year, he has a mark of 4-3, 2 saves, and an ERA of 3 3/4. Fernando has sacrificed and singled for his 19th hit of the year, a career best for him with the Dodgers. Dolan, the big right-hander, into the windup and the pitch. On the outside corner for a strike. The Dodgers got 3 in the first inning. With 2 out and nobody on, Madlock was hit by a Ryan pitch. Guerrero singled. Marshall broke his bat, tripled in 2, and Ryan's wild pitch gave the Dodgers the 3rd run. Valenzuela takes high for a ball, 1-1. Then in the 4th, with 1 out, Brock walked. Sax singled Gregg to second. Valenzuela got the controversial infield single, which led to the ejection of Bob Lillis. And then Duncan with a fielder's choice and an RBI, and Dickie Thon got kicked out. Ground ball back a second. Bert Pena, another good play, and throws out Fernando. 1 out for Duncan, who's at 3 ground balls. Is 0 for 3, but did pick up his 36th RBI. They're in the 11th inning in Cincinnati. Atlanta 2 and the Reds 2. This is Glenn Hubbard's birthday. Wouldn't it be something if Hub were the hero and helped the Dodgers reduce that magic number? Needed to clinch the West. That's Ted Power for Cincinnati against Gene Garber of the Braves, both in relief. Rick Mailer and Jay Tibbs were the starters. Dolly's first one to Duncan. Good fastball, laid in for a strike. Dolly's the son of a Connecticut milkman. He's 6'4", weighs 240, has a fastball and a slider. Made the All-Star team a couple of years ago. Duncan fouls it straight back, and it's 0-2. A week ago, the Astros came to Los Angeles, won 2 from the Dodgers. Went home with a 9-game winning streak, still in the race. But they lost 2 of 3 to the Reds here over the weekend. And if the Dodgers hold on tonight, Houston will drop 5 of the past 6 at home. Now they go on the road. The pitch is high. 1-2 to Mariano. The Reds will host the Astros for 3 over the weekend, while the Giants are at Dodger Stadium. Hershiser in blue Friday night. There's strike 3 call to Mariano Duncan as Dolly took something off and got him with the breaking ball. 2 away for Ken Landreaux, who was 0 for 3 tonight against Nolan Ryan. Landreaux is slumping. He's had just 3 hits in his last 33 at-bats. His average back to 270. The Dodgers with 5 hits, the Astros with 2. And the pitch, breaking ball, is inside for a ball. In Cincinnati, the Braves have scored a run in the top of the 11th. To go ahead 3-2, they have 1 on and nobody out. The pitch to Landreaux, high and away, 2 balls and no strikes. On deck, Bill Madlock, whose 17-game hitting streak is in jeopardy. He's 0 for 2 tonight. The 2-0 pitch. Landreaux lets a pop fly along the left field line. Pena going out. Coming up is Jim Pankovits, and he one-hands it. So the Dodgers have not done a thing since Fernando's infield single in the 4th inning. 11 in a row retired since then. However, at the end of 6.5, it's the Dodgers 4 and the Astros nothing.
We were talking earlier about Lynn Dickey of the Green Bay Packers deciding not to start for the Packers this weekend. Los Angeles Raiders quarterback Jim Plunkett, with him it's sort of involuntary. He's recovering from an injured left shoulder. He'll be sidelined longer than the 6 weeks originally anticipated. According to Coach Tim Flores, the chances of surgery are pretty high, but the doctors aren't going to go in right now. He said, "We ran some tests yesterday. It's my understanding the doctors will wait a few days to decide if the shoulder will require additional surgery to repair that injury or if it'll tighten up on its own." Now, Flores says the shoulder will take quite a while to heal. He says you have to immobilize it for 3 to 4 weeks and undergo rehabilitation for another 3 to 4 weeks, so 6 weeks doesn't sound very realistic. Plunkett dislocated his left shoulder, if you were listening or watching the game, when he was sacked by San Francisco defensive end Jeff Stover in the 4th quarter of Sunday's loss to the 49ers. That score was 34-10, by the way. Plunkett underwent diagnostic arthroscopic surgery and tests on Tuesday at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. He was released from the hospital on Wednesday. Mark Wilson will be starting in Plunkett's place when the Raiders play at New England on Sunday. Wilson's a 6-year veteran from Brigham Young. He was booed by the crowd at Memorial Coliseum when he replaced Plunkett last week. Flores says, "I don't like to hear the quarterback booed when he hasn't done anything to justify it. I don't think it's fair." Wilson started for the Raiders somewhat sporadically during the 81, 83, and 84 seasons, and he started the final 10 regular season games last year when Plunkett was also injured, so he'll be starting Sunday.
Fernando Valenzuela, looking for his 18th victory of the year, carries a 4-run lead into the 7th inning tonight in Houston. 4-0 Dodgers. Fernando has allowed only 2 hits. A bloop single right by Jerry Mumphrey in the 2nd, and a single off Bill Madlock's glove by Phil Garner in the 5th inning. Glenn Davis leads it off in the Astros 7th. He's bounced back to Fernando, who made a fine fielding play and threw him out in the opening inning. Then Glenn walked his last time up. He swings and misses. Today in baseball history, 20 years ago in this state, 20 years ago today, Satchel Paige made a little baseball history. The 0-1 pitch. Fastball in the inside corner, belt high for a strike, 0-2. Satchel became the oldest person to play in the major leagues. He pitched 3 scoreless innings for Kansas City against Boston and gave up only one hit to Carl Yastrzemski. Davis slugs one to the left field corner. If it's there, it's trouble. It's a home run over the wall. Fernando will not get his sixth shutout tonight. Davis blasts his 19th home run, and that makes it Dodgers 4, Astros 1. Davis last night led off the 7th inning against Bob Welch, and Squirrel Bobby shut out with a home run to right center field. And tonight he opens the 7th with a home run into the left field corner off Fernando Valenzuela. Davis going to be a good one. Screwball to Mumphrey is swung on and missed. Oh, back to Satchel Paige. How old was he? They say he was 60 years old that day 20 years ago. Mumphrey's got a base hit into left center field over the head of Duncan. So two fellows who's hit over 350 at the Astrodome this year, Glenn Davis and Jerry Mumphrey, opened the 7th inning with base hits. Let's pause for station identification. This is the Los Angeles Dodgers Radio Network.
So are the Astros back in it? Well, they'll need a little bit more catching up in this one. This is the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
In the Dodger bullpen, Ken Howell, who's been ailing the last couple of days, begins to warm up. The hitter's Garner, who has smashed into a double play and single. Fernando's pitch, curveball, bounce foul. Over the roof of the Dodger dugout on the third base side. So Fernando, who allowed only 2 hits over the first 6 innings, gives up a leadoff homer to Glenn Davis to start the 7th, and then Mumphrey dunks a single into left center. Atlanta batting in the 11th, and now leading in Cincinnati 3-2 over the Reds. The pitch to Garner. Foul back, went after a high outside breaking ball, and the count goes to 0-2. No game tomorrow for the Dodgers, and then they open the final homestand of the year, Friday night against the San Francisco Giants. The last 10 to be played at Dodger Stadium in the regular season. Fernando's pitch. Swing and a miss, and Garner strikes out. 3 strikeouts for Valenzuela. He's got them all in the 6th and 7th innings. 1 out. Here's Alan Ashby, who made his first start in almost 2 months here last night. Ashby tonight has grounded out twice, the last time into a double play. Paul Hershiser will be looking for his 10th straight win on Friday night against Vida Blue. Ground ball to third. Tricky hop. Madlock's got it loose on, and Sax can't hold on to it. Everybody's safe. Madlock will be charged with the air. Bill got a tricky hop, but was able to feel the ball, and then looked like he let up on his throw and bounced it in the dirt, and Sax just couldn't come up with it. So the Astros have 2 on with 1 out of the 7th. Bert Pena is the hitter. He took over at shortstop when Dickie Thon was thumbed out of the game by first base umpire Bob Davidson. Moments after Houston manager Bob Lillis had been ejected. First pitch is fouled, and it's strike 1 to Bert Pena. That one got a piece of Scioscia, and here comes Dodger trainer Bill Buehler to check on Mike. Hal is throwing in the Dodger bullpen. It has been a while since Ken has been in a ball game. It's a week ago tonight when the Astros were at Dodger Stadium when Hal appeared for 1 inning and drew the loss in the 7-2 Houston victory. All right, the next pitch to Bert Pena. High bounce to the third. Madlock has to wait for it. Throw to first. It's too late. The bases are loaded. That is a true AstroTurf single. A high bouncer, and Madlock couldn't do a thing in the world as he waited for it to come down. By the time he got his shot at Brock, Pena was across safely with a base hit. So Fernando has gotten only one of the 5 men to face him here in the 7th inning. A home run, 2 singles, and error, 3 on, 1 out, 4-1 Dodgers. And now Tim Tolman will come up and bat for Bill Doran, who got the 3 Dodger batters to face him in the top of the 7th. Tolman wrecked the Reds here Saturday afternoon with a 3-run homer in the 8th inning to break a 5-5 tie. Cincinnati hoping right now that Tolman will return the favor against the Dodgers. In Cincinnati, the Braves got another run in the 11th. It's 4-2 at the end of 10 and a half. The pitch is low and inside to the former USC star, Tim Tolman. Tolman batting only .133. He has 4 hits this year and 30 at-bats. And the pitch to him is low ball 2-0. Fernando has walked 3, he struck out 3. He finds 3 runners on with 1 out of the 7th, a run in. The Dodgers leading at 4-1. Valenzuela at the belt delivered. Fastball lifted foul, out of play, slicing off to the right. 2-1. So it's on the board for the Dodgers to see. Atlanta 4, Cincinnati 2, as they go to the bottom of the 11th at Riverfront Stadium. The Dodgers started the night with a magic number at 7. They'd love to get it to 5 as they head for home after the ball game. But Fernando's in a jam here in the 7th inning. Now the stretch. And the 2-1 pitch to Tolman. Foul back again. 2-2. On deck, Bill Doran. Houston leading the National League in hits and in doubles. Second in runs to the Cardinals. So they can manufacture runs in a hurry. Even though perhaps their best hitter, Jose Cruz, has missed the last 2 games with a hamstring pull. All right, Fernando ready again, and the 2-2 pitch to Tolman. Ground ball up the middle. Johnson can't get it. Base hit. Mumphrey scores. Ashby scores. Haney, the third, is 4-3. Tim Tolman's had only 5 hits this year, but he has 8 RBIs, 5 as a pinch hitter. And all of a sudden, the tying run is at third base for Houston with only 1 out of the 7th inning. A 2-run pinch single by Tolman. And here's Doran, who is 0 for 2 with a walk. Doran is the 7th man to bat in the 7th. So Fernando, who squandered a 6-1 lead in the 6th inning at Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago, had a 4-0 lead going to the 7th. He's only 1 ahead. And there's a drive in the right field. Marshall's going to get it. Makes the catch. Tagging is Pena. He scores the tying run. Doran's ball almost got over Mike Marshall's head. It was slicing toward him. Mike, who is 6'5", reached up at the last moment and gloved it. But the Astros have scored 4 in the 7th and not it. 2 out, and here's Jim Pankovits. Tolman still at first base. So Nolan Ryan is off the hook. Jeff Calhoun getting running in the Astro bullpen, and the breaking ball is outside to Jim Pankovits. So Davis homered over the left field wall. Mumphrey flared a single to left center. Garner struck out. Madlock committed a costly error on a low throw to second. 2 hits and a scoring fly ball have followed, and the Astros have tallied 4. Pankovits takes a strike. The irony of that is that the Sunday afternoon in Cincinnati, when Fernando saw a 5-run lead evaporate, Madlock had another error on a tricky hopper. Pankovits takes low ball 2, 2-1. Rick Camp has gone in to pitch for the Braves in Cincinnati. Atlanta 4, the Reds 2 in the bottom of the 11th. All right, Fernando's pitch. Breaking ball, bounce foul. 2-2. When the Dodgers come up in the 8th inning, they'll have Bill Madlock, Pedro Guerrero, and Mike Marshall, apparently to face left-hander Jeff Calhoun. So in 1 inning, Fernando loses his shutout and loses his 4-run lead. 4 home for the Astros to tie. The 2-2 pitch. Reached for and missed swinging. Pankovits strikes out. But a big inning for Houston. 4 runs, 4 hits. A key error on Madlock and a man left. And at the end of 7, the Dodgers 4 and the Astros 4.
50 Colorado municipalities will vote on November the 5th, and Colorado residents who are members of the U.S. Armed Forces are urged to submit an FPCA, that's a federal postcard application, to their county clerk by November the 1st. This will allow you to register and vote in these non-federal elections. For more information, contact your unit voting assistance office. Come November 5th, Virginia voters will make their choices known in a race for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, members of the House of Delegates, and many other state and commonwealth offices. Military members may apply for registration and an absentee ballot by sending an FPCA, that's a federal postcard application, to their city or county general registrar not later than 30 days before the election. Your military unit voting assistance officer has all the details.
Well, let's take a look at what's happening in the American League. New York is having its sweet revenge on Detroit. You'll remember yesterday the Tigers beat the Yankees 9-1. Well, New York is turning it around and then some. And New York is now leading Detroit 10-1, and they are in the bottom of the 8th inning. Now, up until just a few moments ago, Boston was leading Toronto, which, of course, the Yankees would pray very mightily for Toronto to lose tonight. However, Toronto just scored, and it is now Toronto 2, Boston 2. They are all tied up in the bottom of the 9th inning. So the Yankees looking for Boston to pull that one out. Let's get back.
Let's go to the 8th, a 4-4 tie. Once more, here's Vin.
All right, Ross, and Bill Madlock takes a breaking ball strike, and we're into the 8th with left-hander Jeff Calhoun on the mound. Calhoun with a record of 2-4. He suffered the loss in the first game of the series in relief of Mike Scott. Calhoun into his windup, and the strike one pitch to Madlock is taken low and inside. You might remember in that first game, Calhoun, a left-hander, was allowed to pitch to Enos Cabell with runners at second and third, and Cabell singled in 2, and the Dodgers won it. The 1-1 pitch to Bill Madlock, low and inside. Ball 2, 2-1. So Ryan is off the hook. The Astros 4 runs, 6 hits. The Dodgers 4 runs, 5 hits. Calhoun into his windup, and the 2-1 pitch to Madlock is lifted to left center. Easy play for Kevin Bass, and he puts it away. 1 out in the 8th inning, and Pedro Guerrero coming up. Guerrero had a base hit, flied out, and then lost a hit on a good play by Bert Pena. The Reds at bat in the bottom of the 11th, and Atlanta winning 4-2 in that game. The Dodgers trying to reduce the number to 5. They have to win here as well. Calhoun delivers, and Guerrero looks at a pitch off the plate. Ball 1, 1-0. So the Dodgers with 3 in the first and 1 in the fourth. And the Astros came back with 4 of their own to get even. And now we're in the 8th. The 1-0 pitch on the way to Guerrero. Breaking ball grounded sharply into left field for a base hit. Garner was guarding the foul line. Otherwise, he makes a play on the ball. So Guerrero singles, and the batter is Mike Marshall. Hit number 1 off Calhoun, a half a dozen hits for the Dodgers. And Calhoun working on Marshall, who was tripled, grounded to third, and struck out. Julio Solano up the steps and out of the Astro dugout, and he goes down to the bullpen. Marshall takes a strike on the outside corner, 0-1. Marshall's triple was just a crackback single that bounced over the head of Jerry Mumphrey, and it's turned out to be a big play. Now the strike one pitch to Marshall. Calhoun delivers, swung on and missed. Mike gets into that rut, that swingitis. It caused him to go down on 6 consecutive strikeouts. He fought his way out of it last night with 4 hits, then got his base hit in the first inning. But he has the count 0-2. Calhoun delivers, and it's swung on and fouled away. Big chopper right over the hands of Tommy Lasorda and bouncing out of the Dodger dugout. Bass, Davis, and Mumphrey. The way the Astros are due up in the bottom of the 8th inning. That's the heart of the lineup, the numbers 3, 4, and 5 hitters. 0-2 to Mike Marshall. And the pitch to Mike. Fastball straightened him up at the hands. 1-2. And the final score in Cincinnati, Atlanta 4 and the Reds 2. So the number is now 6. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Marshall, very high, ball 2. So now it's up to the Dodgers to pair that number to 5 with 10 games left at home. Atlanta in 11 innings, defeating the Reds 4-2. Calhoun plants to left foot, Marshall waiting. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Guerrero, pretty good lead at first. And Calhoun delivers, and it's a ground ball down to short. Pena goes back to Doran, on to Davis. Double play. So the Dodgers have had 1 hit since Valenzuela's chop in the 4th inning. And the complexion and feeling of the game has done a complete about-face. At the end of 7 1/2, a 4-4 tie.
Well, if you're a hockey fan, you may be following the Chris Katsopoulos story. The Hartford Whalers have ordered defenseman Katsopoulos to leave training camp. That was today. They ordered him to do that, while the team seeks a trade or leaves him exposed in the NHL waiver draft. Now, Katsopoulos is pretty unhappy with his contract. He's been suspended for failing to show up at a rookie exhibition game earlier this week. He'll be reassigned when and if he clears waivers on October 7th, according to the team. He reported to training camp on Wednesday, and he met with Whalers president and general manager Emile Francis, who lifted the suspension but told him he could no longer practice with the club. So really, what's the difference there? Francis says, I don't want him to continue to participate in the Hartford Whalers training camp. He's been instructed I will attempt to trade him, or failing that, he'll be reassigned following the NHL waiver draft. Now, other team officials say it's likely that Katsopoulos would be selected by another club in the draft. He didn't attend the arbitration hearing on Tuesday. That's when they were testifying about his contract dispute. Let's get back to the stadium.
Bottom of the 8th inning in a 4-4 tie. The Dodgers 4 runs, 6 hits, 1 error. And the Astros 4 runs, 6 hits, and no errors. Crowd reacting in the background. There's over 18,000 in the ballpark. Although that would not be the paid. There are a lot of people here. Dave Anderson is now at third base for the Dodgers, since Madlock has had his last at-bat and has had his 17-game hitting streak brought to an end tonight. Fernando working on Kevin Bass. Kevin, hitting right-handed, is way out in front of the first pitch. And the count 0-1. Bass 2 fly balls to center and hit back to the box. 0 for 3. Fernando comes back to him and shoots a fastball away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bass, Davis, Mumphrey. And it was Davis who got the Astros started with that line drive home run leading off the 7th inning. The 1-1 pitch is swung on and missed. Bass chasing it, dropped to his right knee. And the count 1-2. 1-2 to Kevin Bass. Fernando leading 4-0. Saw it go down the drain in the 7th inning. The 1-2 fastball is outside. Ball 2. He has Brock and Sax, Duncan and Anderson back of him on the infield, with Guerrero, Landreaux, and Marshall in the outfield. The 2-2 pitch to Bass, swung on and hit foul. Back of Menke and bouncing into the Dodger dugout. Len Matuzik catches it and flips it up into the stands, and the count 2 balls, 2 strikes. But it's history in Cincinnati. Atlanta knocked off the Reds 4-2. The Mets lost. The Cardinals are winning 6-3 in the bottom of the 6th inning. Fernando checking, Bass waiting, and the 2-2 pitch on the way is foul back. In the American League, Toronto is in the 10th inning, 2-2 with Boston. The Yankees leading Detroit 10-1 in the 9th inning. White Sox failed to score in the first inning in California, and Kansas City failed to score in the first inning at Seattle. The 2-2 fastball is fouled away. Kansas City trying to catch the Angels and trying somehow to find a way to beat Seattle. Seattle has beaten Kansas City 10 straight. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fernando delivers, curveball, lifted to right center, and here comes Marshall. Under it now and makes the catch for the out. 1 away in the 8th. Glenn Davis, the home run hitting first baseman, and make no mistake about him, he's got that stroke. He hit back to the box hard in the first inning, walked in the 4th, and hit his 19th home run of the year in the 7th inning, and his 2nd home run in the series. The Dodgers kept him quiet in the first game. He homered against Bob Welch. And here's the pitch outside, ball 1. We get a report on Bill Madlock that he left the game with a strained left quadricep. The 1-0 pitch on the way. That's low, ball 2, 2-0. Tom Niedenfuhr throwing in the Dodger bullpen. Fernando is due to bat 4th when the Dodgers hit in the 9th inning. 2-0, the count to Davis. Fernando ready, fires, and it's swung on and missed. Steve Sax almost in a shallow center field position. He is that far overshifted and beyond the rim of the infield. Now the 2-1 pitch to Davis. Swung on and hit foul outside of third, knocked down by Dennis Menke, and the count 2-2. Dennis Menke, boy, he could swing the bat. He had 1 year when he played shortstop. He drove in 92 runs. He was a fine player. Davis waiting, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Fernando nods yes, and the 2-2 pitch to Davis, screwball, grounded to the left of Duncan. Mariano is on it, fires to Brock in time for the out. Paid attendance tonight, good crowd. It's above their average. 16,955. 2 out in the 8th, and Jerry Mumphrey, the batter, single to right, grounded out, and single to center. He scored 1 of the 4 runs pushed over in the 7th. Fernando ready, delivers. Fastball and a check swing foul outside of first, bouncing over towards the Astro dugout. The Dodgers have Mike Scioscia, Greg Brock, and Steve Sax, but remember the Astros have a left-hander on the mound, Jeff Calhoun. The strike 1 pitch coming up. Fernando deals, ground ball right to Sax. He picks it up, flips over to Brock, and the 8th is in the works. At the end of 8, the Dodgers 4, the Astros 4.
Well, we've got a lawsuit going on in baseball, don't we always? A lawsuit asking for $50 million from the Kansas City Royals and its owners has been transferred to federal court in Kansas City. That lawsuit was filed in federal court in Los Angeles originally by Michael Shapiro, and the lawsuit alleges that Ewing Kauffman breached a contract to sell Shapiro 49% of the Kansas City Royals back in 1983. No trial date's been set yet. Now, according to the petition, Shapiro was to pay Kauffman $100,000 for the option to purchase 49% interest in the team. That purchase price, including cable television rights, was to total $11 million and a letter of credit for $12 million. Now, Kauffman says Shapiro failed to meet what he called terms and conditions of the agreement, including Shapiro's failure to deliver the $11 million and the letter of credit by February 16th, 1983. Now, Kauffman later sold that 49% to a third party. Shapiro says that sale was a breach of his original contract, and he says his $100,000 has not yet been returned. Let's get back.
Is solely for the entertainment of our listening audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, or other use of the descriptions and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Dodgers is prohibited.
9th inning, 4-4 tie. The Dodgers will send up Mike Scioscia, Enos Cabell, and Steve Sax. Cabell is out on deck to bat against Calhoun for Greg Brock, who started the game. Brock walked twice and fouled out. Mike Scioscia plays against all comers. He's 0 for 3. And Calhoun checking with Alan Ashby. Garner right at the bag at third, and a breaking ball strike. Davis is deep guarding the line at first. Now the strike one pitch on the way. Calhoun delivers. That's a strike, and the count 0-2. 4-4 as the Dodgers squandered a 4-0 lead in the 7th inning. Here's the strike 2 pitch on the way. Calhoun delivers outside with a fastball. Ball 1. 1-2. Tim Tolman, a key pinch hit single to drive in 2 in that 4-run 7th. And the Astros have caught Fernando and the Dodgers. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Sos takes strike 3 call. Good breaking ball. Fooled him, and down he goes. With 1 out, here's Enos Cabell hitting for Brock. So Cabell batting for Gregg and then stays in the game. It was Cabell the other night who beat Calhoun and the Astros going head-to-head with runners at second and third. So now they have a rematch. Cabell with 2 home runs, 32 runs batted in, hitting .271. Calhoun into the windup, and the pitch to Cabell outside and high. Ball 1, 1-0. One and oh, the count to Cabell. Calhoun ready and comes back, and a hard curve swung on and missed. It was down at his feet. 1-1. Alan Ashby retrieving that ball, and Bruce Fleming taking a look at it since it was in the dirt. 1-1 to Cabell. 9th inning. 4-4. Comfort to the Dodgers, of course, the fact that Atlanta has polished off the Reds 4-2. So they can't get hurt no matter what. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Cabell. Fastball rolls slowly to short. Pena is there, fires to first. The Dodgers have completely stopped. They've had 1 hit since the infield single by Valenzuela in the 4th inning. In fact, at one stage, 12 in a row were retired. That was immediately after Valenzuela's hit, until with 1 out in the 8th inning, Guerrero singled, only to have Marshall hit into a double play. So 2 down, and Sax the batter with Fernando on deck, and Steve takes a strike, 0-1. When the Astros hit in the bottom of the 9th, they have Phil Garner, Alan Ashby, and Bert Pena, with Calhoun's spot due up 4th. 4 runs, 6 hits for each side. Sax waiting, no balls and 1 strike. Calhoun into the windup, and the strike 1 pitch is swung on and bounced foul into the seats behind the Dodger dugout, and the count 0-2. It's been Ryan, Dawley, and Calhoun, the Dodgers with Valenzuela. And the strike 2 pitch on the way to Steve Sax. Fastball pop foul off first base. Davis comes in front of the Astro dugout to glove it. So the Dodgers out in order. They have not done anything but go out, really. 3 men per inning since the 4th inning. And at the end of 8 1/2, a 4-4 tie.
Free agent Spencer Haywood and Freeman Williams, a pair of NBA castoffs, have been signed by the Detroit Pistons, according to the club today. Haywood turned 36 on Sunday. He asked the Pistons for a tryout, and he played well in the club's summer league, despite being out of the NBA for 2 seasons. He last played in the NBA in 1982 and 1983 with the Washington Bullets. Haywood averaged 8.2 points in 38 games. He's 6'9", 225 pounds. He began his pro career back in 1969 and 1970 with the Denver Nuggets of the American Basketball Association, and at that time he was the league's Rookie of the Year and the most valuable player. After 1 season, he signed with Seattle of the NBA. He also played with New Orleans, and also the 1980 champion Lakers. David went to high school and college in Detroit. Now, as for Williams, he's 29 years old. He played with champion Tampa Bay of the Continental Basketball Association last season, and he was named the league's MVP. And so now they have been signed by the Detroit Pistons. And we'll remind you, you are listening to one exciting baseball game. Major League Baseball coming to you today from the Astrodome. The Dodgers visiting the Astros, and all tied up. And it's coming to you on the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
In the bottom of the ninth inning, Fernando trying to get through Garner, Ashby, and Pena in a 4-4 tie. Julio Solano throwing down in the Astro bullpen. Garner hit into a double play, singled off Madlock's glove, and struck out. 1 for 3. Enos Cabell, who batted for Brock, takes over at first, and we're about ready. Cabell, Sax, Duncan, and Anderson on the infield. Guerrero, Landreaux, Marshall in the outfield. Phil Garner, 1 for 3, hitting .256. Fernando on the third base side of the rubber into the windup, and his fastball is whacked into left center. Landreaux on the run, backhands it as he goes to his knees. Big play by Kenny Landreaux in left center. One down in the ninth inning. That'll bring up Alan Ashby. Alan Ashby has grounded out, hit into a double play, and a board on an error. And he takes outside ball 1, 1-0. So Landreaux takes an extra base hit away from Garner. The 1-0 pitch is low, ball 2, 2-0. 2-0 to Alan Ashby with Bert Pena on deck. Remember, Dickie Thon was kicked out of the game along with Bob Lillis. For Bob Lillis, first time he's been kicked out this year. 2-0 the count. Fernando ready, and the pitch is low, ball 3. 1 out, bottom of the ninth in a 4-4 tie. Atlanta took a little heat off the Dodgers. They defeated Cincinnati 4-2. And there's ball 4 to Alan Ashby. We'll see if there's going to be a runner for Ashby or not. Allen standing at first. Matt Galante, the first base coach, takes a little protective shin guard away from him, so Ashby's going to stay in. So Ashby at first with 1 out in the ninth, 4-4, and the batter is Bert Pena. And now Ashby is going to leave the line, so they are going to put a runner in. We're wondering about leaving him out there, representing the winning run. And it looks like... So Craig Reynolds, a possible winning run at first base with 1 out in the ninth inning. 4-4 tie, and Pena has a look at Dennis Menke. Dickie Thon grounded to short. Pena, while he was in there, 1 for 2. Bert, right-hand batter, hitting .318. He hadn't had very many at-bats, and he takes in the dirt. A good save by Scioscia, ball 1. Kenny Howell, who's been under the weather with tonsillitis and a fever, but he's strong enough to make it down to the bullpen. And Howell is heating up. 1 ball and no strikes to count. Fernando ready and delivers, and it's fouled back by Pena, and it looks like he had ideas to go to right field with that pitch. 1-1. On deck, the former Dodger, Herman Rivera, loosening up. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out to number 1, Bert Pena, in a 4-4 tie in the ninth. So Fernando, who led 4-0, is now battling to keep even at 4-4, and a throw to first sends Reynolds back to the bag. Reynolds has not stolen very many bases, only 3. Fernando delivers, Pena bunts, foul, up along third, and the count 1-2. Reynolds running for Ashby, and the Astros already used Bullock and Tolman. They've had Thon kicked out. And so Herman Rivera on deck with a 206 batting average. Now the 1-2 pitch. Pena takes high. Ball 2. 2-2. The Dodgers have won 7 out of 8 here in the Astrodome. They've never won 8 games here since the place was built back in '62. And they led 4-0 and looked like they were going to do it. Here's a 2-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. Down around Pena's feet. And down he goes. So Valenzuela picks up his 5th strikeout. And now Herman Rivera, the right-hand batter, coming up to hit for Calhoun, and Scioscia out to the mound to talk to Fernando. Mark Bailey will be going behind the plate since Reynolds ran for Ashby. And Julio Solano will be pitching the 10th inning if there is one. Here's Rivera hitting 206, 2 RBIs, right-hand batter. He's only had 34 at-bats since being called up. Rivera waiting, Fernando set and delivers. And it's a ground foul outside of third and down the line, and the count 0-1. 4 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. 4 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Astros. The Dodgers led 4-0 by the 4th inning when the Astros got 4 in the 7th to tie it up. The strike 1 pitch on the way is inside at the hands. 1 ball, 1 strike. On deck is certainly not a hitter the Dodgers want to see with someone in scoring position, Bill Doran. So it is very important for Fernando to get Rivera. The 1-1 pitch to Herman is taken low. Ball 2, 2-1. Doran, the on-deck hitter, and a switch hitter, hitting over 290 from either side of the plate. So they'd like to get their former teammate Rivera and force this thing into overtime. 2-1, the count to Rivera. Fernando in quest of his 18th. And his 2-1 pitch, Rivera fouls it away off to the right, back into the crowd. 16,955 paid. That's about 2,000 above the average here. The Astros have drawn 1,170,000 for the year. 2-2, the count to Herman Rivera. Fernando at the belt, looks at Reynolds and decides he'll flip over the Cabell just to drive him back. 4-4 in the 9th. Rivera waiting. Now Fernando out of a stretch, and the 2-2 pitch is a ground ball to third. Tricky hop, but Anderson stays with it and turns it into a force at second. And the big play, a fine play by Kenny Landreaux in left center at the start of the 9th. And at the end of 9, a 4-4 tie.
Now this ABC News brief. Hurricane Gloria is headed for the eastern seaboard. Although forecasters say the winds have decreased from 150 to 135 miles an hour, Gloria is still one of the most powerful hurricanes to ever hit the Atlantic. Hurricane watches that soon could be warnings are up for the Carolinas and Virginia. Forecasters say Gloria could come ashore on Friday. It's not known where. Secretary of State George Shultz met with his Soviet counterpart in New York today for 4 hours. Shultz said the meeting was useful and the atmosphere frank, but that no new arms control proposals were put on the table. Rescuers pulled 2 babies and a woman from hospital ruins alive in Mexico City. But a 6th American died of injuries from last week's earthquake. 28 Americans still missing. And Mexican officials answer as their main concern. From ABC News, I'm Caroline Kell.
It's 4-4 as we go to the 10th inning. On the scoreboard, the Mets lost. The Cardinals are winning 6-3 in the 8th inning. The Reds lost, so the Dodgers' magic number is 6. In the American League, Kansas City and Seattle scoreless in the bottom of the 3rd. Chicago, California scoreless in the bottom of the 2nd. The Yankees won big, 10-2, and Toronto in the 11th inning tied 2-2 with Boston. So you're up to date. Mark Bailey and Julio Solano are the new battery, and the Dodgers are going to have Terry Whitfield come up for Fernando. So Fernando, a tough 9, and unless the Dodgers do something, he will not have anything to do with the ball game. But of course, That's twice in recent memory. Fernando, the great closer, leading 6-1 in Cincinnati, had one unravel and get away. And tonight, leading 4-0 in the 7th, he saw the Astros get 4 to catch him. So we move on to the 10th, and don't forget, the Dodgers will be home starting Friday night, the final homestand of the year. 3 with the Giants, 2 with San Diego, 2 with Atlanta, and 3 with Cincinnati. To the 10th, 4-4. Here's Ross.
Okay, Vinny, neither club's done very well in extra inning games this year. Both have losing records in overtime, and both have been rather pathetic at home. Terry Whitfield leads it off against Julio Solano, and the first pitch of the 10th is taken low for a ball. The Dodgers have dropped 8 of their 11 extra inning games in Los Angeles, and the Astros have bowed in 7 of their 10 marathons here at the Astrodome. Solano's fastball is low, and it's 2-0 to Whitfield, who's the Dodgers' #1 pinch hitter this year. Terry hitting .260 overall, but when he's come off the bench, he's had 13 pinch hits, 2 of those homers, and 11 runs batted in. Solano, in his 17th game, he's won 1, lost 2, an ERA of over 4. The next one is high to Whitfield, ball 3, 3-0. Not only do the Astros have a new battery, Solano and Bailey, but Reynolds remained in the game, and he's at shortstop. So Bailey hitting 8. There is ball 4 inside the Whitfield. So Julio Solano, the hard-throwing right-hander, comes in and serves up 4 pitches to Whitfield. They're all out of the strike zone. And now Houston pitching coach Jerry Walker is headed for the mound. We're in the 10th, a 4-4 tie. Manager Bob Lillis of the Astros was ejected back in the 4th inning, as was shortstop Dickie Thon. Big Charles Kerfeld gets up in the Houston bullpen. He's the 6'6", 275-pound right-hander who made a start here over the weekend against Cincinnati, had a no decision. All right, Duncan up. Walker back in the dugout, and let's see how the Dodgers choose to go. Duncan 0 for 4 tonight with an RBI, and Solano driving pinch runner Reggie Williams, who takes over from Whitfield at first base, back to the bag. The pitch to the plate, way inside for a ball. 1-0. Solano is a very good pitcher when he's on as far as speed. He once had a 97-mile-per-hour fastball clocked in the game against the Dodgers down at Vero Beach last year. His next pitch is bunted by a fellow Dominican, Duncan. Solano throws to first, and on the sacrifice, Reggie Williams goes to second. Doran took the throw, so 1-4 on the putout. That's the first out of the inning. Here comes Landreaux, and Dave Anderson will be next. Remember, Bill Madlock left the game. He re-injured his leg, and Anderson took over in the bottom of the 8th at third base. Madlock went 0 for 3 tonight and had his 17-game hitting streak snapped. Landreaux is 0 for 4 in this one. 3 for 34 in his recent skid. So Reggie Williams, who spent the year at San Antonio, right up the road from Houston, gets a good lead off of second, and Landreaux takes a strike. Overall this year in extra inning games, the Dodgers are 6-10. They've divided the 6 they've had to play on the road. The Astros are 8-10 because they won 5 of 7 away from here. Fastball is low to Ken. 1 ball and 1 strike. Atlanta got 2 in the 11th and beat Cincinnati 4-2. A rookie infielder named Wade Rowden committed 2 errors in the 11th inning to help the Braves win that one. Garber beat Power at Riverfront. The 1-1 pitch. Nub foul back of the plate. 1-2 to Ken Landreaux. Getaway night for the Dodgers in Houston, their final road game of the year. They still have to fly back to the West Coast tonight, so it's going to be a long evening for them. We're in the 10th inning in a 4-4 tie. Each club with 6 hits. The Dodgers have committed 1 error. Solano ready. The 1-2 pitch to Landreaux. A ground ball to short. Williams goes back to second. Reynolds lines up and throws to Davis in time to get Landreaux. 2 away. And the swamp continues for Ken. 2 out now. Dave Anderson being called back. And Lynn Matusik, a left-handed batter, will come up and face Julio Solano. Tom Niedenfuer throwing in the Dodger bullpen. He'll be on the bottom of the 10th when the Astros start with the top of the order. Doran, Pankovits, and Bass. Valenzuela had a 4-0 lead going to the 7th. He was working on a 2-hitter. He allowed a leadoff homer to Glenn Davis. Jerry Mumphrey singled. Garner struck out. Ashby had a ground ball to Madlock, who made a low throw to second. It appeared Sax was trying to get out of the way of the oncoming Mumphrey and couldn't handle the low throw. Madlock was charged with the error. Bert Pena got a high hopper for an infield single to third. Then should have Tim Tolman singled in two, and Doran sacrifice fly tied it. Matusik takes the strike. Lynn hitting .230 for the Dodgers. As a pinch hitter, he's only 1 for 14 with 2 RBIs. He does have 3 homers and 12 RBIs for the year with the Dodgers. The pitch. Very high. Bailey out of the crouch to get it. 1 ball, 1 strike. So Lynn Matusik batting for Dave Anderson with 2 out in the 10th. Reggie Williams, the runner at second, in a 4-4 tie. On deck, Guerrero. And Guerrero has worn Solano out. The pitch. High, bouncer to short. Here comes Reynolds. Nice short up and pick up and throw and got him. Good play by Craig Reynolds. If he doesn't make that play, the ball's under his glove into left center field, and the Dodgers have the lead. So Reynolds throws out Matusik. The Dodgers are gone. And at the end of 9.5 innings.
Extra innings, here we come. Rookie third baseman Wade Rowden committed back-to-back 2-base throwing errors in the 11th inning Wednesday night. That allowed the Atlanta Braves to defeat the Cincinnati Reds 4-2. Rowden opened the inning by fielding Claudell Washington's grounder and throwing the ball over first baseman Pete Rose's head and into the dugout. That allowed Washington to reach second. Glenn Hubbard's sacrifice was fielded by Rowden, who threw the ball into right field. That permitted Washington to score and Hubbard to move to second. Andres Thomas struck out, and pinch hitter Chris Chambliss, batting for the winning pitcher Gene Garber, was intentionally walked. Then after Terry Harper struck out, Rick Cerrone walked to load the bases, and Ken Obergfell singled to center off loser Ted Power, and that scored Hubbard. Gene Garber, by the way, is now 6-6 on the year with that win. Power falls to 7-5. The Reds tied at 2-2 with a run in the 7th. Wayne Krenchicki walked, and Gary Reedus, who was running for Krenchicki, went to third on a single by Bo Diaz. Ron Oster hit a high pop-up to shallow left, and that should have been an easy out, but shortstop Paul Zavella failed to go out on the ball, and left fielder Milt Thompson couldn't reach it, so it fell for a hit. That scored Reedus. The Braves took a 2-0 lead early in the second inning. Zavella single took second on Thompson's single. Both runners advanced on Ken Obergfell's infield out. Then Dale Murphy followed with a 2-run single to center. Cincinnati cut the lead to 2-1 in the 4th. Dave Parker doubled down the right field line. Krenchicki walked. Dave Concepcion bounced a single up the middle. That scored Parker. But in extra innings, Atlanta wins it. The Braves take the Reds 4-2. Let's get back to the Astrodome.
For the Dodgers, 2 changes as we go to the bottom of the 10th in a 4-4 tie here in Houston. Tom Niedenfuer comes in to pitch, and Bob Baylor takes over at third base. So Niedenfuer will go in the number 3 spot on the batting order, and Baylor would bat 9th. For the Astros, in the bottom of the 10th, Bill Doran will lead it off. Then it'll be Jim Pankovits and Kevin Bass. Niedenfuer now 7-7 on the year, and he is a little over 2.5. He has 17 saves to lead the Dodger ball club. The first one to Doran is inside for a ball. Doran 0 for 2 with a walk and a sacrifice fly to cap a 4-run 7th inning rally that allowed Houston to square the ball game after the Dodgers led 4-0 going to the bottom of the 7th. Doran pops it up foul and out of play. Valenzuela went 9 innings, allowed 4 runs, 6 hits, struck out 5, walked 4. And Fernando will have his record remain 17-10 with the no decision tonight. Nolan Ryan's mark will continue to be 9-12. Doran sends a fly ball to right, but Mike Marshall is there and makes the catch for out number 1. Jim Pankovits walked, fly to center, and the last 2 times up has struck out. Niedenfuer has gone through a slump. Pitched very well over the weekend in San Francisco. He retired all 6 Giants to face him Saturday and registered his 16th save, and then got all 6 Giants on Sunday to get number 17. Pankovits takes the ball. Pankovits, former University of South Carolina star, waiting, and Niedenfuer's pitch. High, ball 2, 2-0. One out, nobody on, bottom of the 10th. The Reds lost tonight at home to Atlanta 4-2 in 11 innings. They'll play an early afternoon affair tomorrow in Cincinnati. The pitch, foul back, 2-1 to Pankovits. The Dodgers trying to get it to the 11th inning, where they would have Guerrero, Marshall, and Scioscia coming up. Niedenfuer polishing up the ball out behind the mound. At this moment, the Dodgers' magic number needed to cinch the West is 6. If they win here at the Astrodome, it will be reduced to 5. Niedenfuer okays the sign from Scioscia. Winds and delivers 2-1. And misses low, ball 3 to Pankovits, 3-1. Baylor guarding the line back at third. Dodgers play Pankovits straight away. The 3-1 pitch. Strike 2 called, 3-2. The Dodgers have had only one hit since the 4th inning. Guerrero singled in the 8th, and the Astros got a double play ground out of Marshall. 3-2 pitch is lined to right base hit. So Pankovits drilled it over the head of Sax. And the winning run's on for Houston with 1 out in the 10th inning. Hit number 7 for the Astros. And now here is Kevin Bass. He's 0 for 4. Bass is one of 5 switch hitters on the Houston Ball Club. He's been far more effective this year right-handed than left-handed. By about 75 points. Batting left-handed against Niedenfuer. Bass pops it up foul down the right field side. Here comes Marshall. Out goes Sax. It is unplayable. In the bullpen area of the Astros, Sax went across the mound. He came closest to it and it landed on the field by about a foot. But Sax just couldn't get to it in time. So Bass back up there, no balls and 1 strike. The Dodgers got 3 in the first. Marshall tripled in 2. The third scored on a Nolan Ryan wild pitch. In the 4th, a walk, singled by Sax and Valenzuela, and a fielder's choice by Duncan up the Dodger lead to 4-0. They carried that margin to the 7th, and Houston got 4 to tie it. Niedenfuer's 0-1 pitch. Strike on the inside corner, a good fastball to Kevin Bass. 0-2. The Cardinals leading the Phillies 6-3 as they go to the 9th in St. Louis. The Mets lost today in Chicago 5-4. Cards trying to go up by 4 in the East. The pitch, check swing foul onto the screen, back of the plate. Still 0-2 to Bass. Boston was leading Toronto 2-1 in the 9th inning when Jeff Burrows hit a home run for the Blue Jays to tie it. They are now going to the 12th inning. Red Sox 2, Jays 2. The Yankees ripped the Tigers tonight 10-2 behind Joe Niekro, who got the win. Niedenfuer's pitch lifted the other way, foul down the left field side, and back out of play. Four last of the 10th inning in Houston. Final meeting of the year between these clubs. The Dodgers trying to beat the Astros on their home carpet 8 straight times after an opening night loss here, 2-1. The Dodgers with an infield of Cabell, Sax, Duncan, and Baylor, an outfield of Guerrero, Landreaux, and Marshall. A battery of Niedenfuer and Scioscia. Remember, tomorrow, off day for the Dodgers, and Friday night, the start of a 10-game homestand to complete the regular season. Oral Hershiser goes for his 18th win Friday night against San Francisco's Vita Blue. Niedenfuer set. The 0-2 pitch to Bass. Fly ball to right field and deep. Marshall going back. This ball is gone, and Houston wins. On an 0-2 pitch, Kevin Bass clapped his 14th homer of the year to beat Tom Niedenfuer and the Dodgers in the 10th inning, 6-4. The Astros 6 runs, 8 hits, and no errors. The Dodgers 4 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error. The winner is Julio Solano, who's 2-2. The loser, Tom Niedenfuer, is 7-8. The Dodgers, though, maintain their 6-game lead over the Reds, and their magic number has been reduced to 6. to clinch the National League West. Remember, the Dodgers idle tomorrow and then open up at home Friday night against the Giants. Hershiser against Blue. Once again, the final score tonight in 10 innings, the Astros 6 and the Dodgers 4. Now, this is...
Okay, we'll be taking it back now, and some other baseball items. Don Mattingly drove in 4 runs, 2 at his 31st homer of the season, and Joe Niekro posted his first American League victory, check this, since 1972. Led the New York Yankees to a 10-2 triumph over the Detroit Tigers. Mattingly went 3 for 5 in the game tonight. He increased his major league leading RBI total to 135 with a 2-run double in the 3rd inning and a 2-run homer in the 6th. Niekro is 1-1 on the season. He won for the first time since being acquired just about, less than 2 weeks ago, September 15th from Houston. His last American League victory was way back on July 30th, 1972. That's when he was a member of the Tigers, interestingly enough, and he beat Boston on that day. Well, for the Tigers tonight, Jack Morris took the loss, but Jack's got a pretty good record for the year, 15-11. In 5 innings in that game, Niekro allowed 4 hits, struck out 2, walked 4. Brian Fisher and Rod Scurry each pitched 2 hitless innings of relief. With the score 1-1, New York scored 3 runs in the 3rd. Ricky Henderson, who was 3 for 4 in the game and had 4 runs scored, good game for Ricky, led off with a single. He stole second, got his 75th steal of the year. He moved to third on Morris's wild pitch on ball 4 to Ken Griffey. Mattingly then belted his double down the right field line after Dave Winfield grounded out. Ron Hassey's RBI single made it 4-1. Then New York made it 5-1 in the 4th inning with 2 out. Henderson doubled and scored on Griffey's triple. Morris was knocked out of the box in a 3-run 6th inning. Bobby Meacham led off with a walk. Henderson doubled him home. Bill Scherer relieved, and then 1 out later, Mattingly hit a 2-1 pitch off the right field foul pole, and that gave the Yanks an 8-1 advantage. The Yankees added another 2 runs in the 8th inning on an RBI double by Griffey and a run-scoring ground out by Big Dave Winfield. Detroit.
Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000 classic games and be sure to spread the word. Long live baseball. Thank you for listening to this game on Classic Baseball on the radio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Feel free to browse our library of over 1,000